lady. The big fun thing.
Lightning crash! Lightning crash! Chains rattling! It's spooky season! Headless horse sounds! That would just be silence. You gotta watch the scary movies, right? There's that Ghost Dog sequel, also the new Nightmare on Elm Street. Weapons is on streaming. Anyone watch Weapons? It's about weapons. This episode is not about weapons or weapons. It's about the job market, but we can make it scary. So, all right, here we go. I'll weapons it. This is a true story that happened here in my country 2 years ago. A lot of college grads were unemployed in really weird ways in this story.
I can't watch
and
this
you'll
video.
probably find it all over the news because economists and top people in this country were like so freaked out about not being able to solve it that they, you know what, this is obviously not working. That failed. Okay, so we'll just do an episode about it.
Curse of the tale of the painful death of entry-level jobs!
Listen, it's scary, just not in the way where somebody stabs themselves in the face with a fork in their house. More in the way where people simply don't have houses to begin with. Speaking of financial terror, you should like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your validation sustains us! And it's free to do, because, boy, money. Yeesh. The national job situation is bad and getting worse. The number of Gen Z grads who can't find a full-time job in their first year out of college has more than doubled from the previous generation. Probably related is the fact that the unemployment rate for these same grads is beyond double the overall rate. Everything is twice as bad. Cool? Radical even. And this isn't just like Trump. I mean, he's not gonna make it better, but we've been playing this turd fiddle for a while now. People are dumping tens and twenties and hundreds of thousands of dollars on student loans for degrees that end up being useless. Just really expensive monuments to failure you get to hang on your walls if you can afford walls. Upward mobility has flatlined, and the job market is flush with both experienced workers and college grads competing to do the same basic jobs. Naturally, employers have begun prioritizing candidates with experience over a college education.
And like, I can make one.
Yeah, in theory, it's better to have experience than an expensive degree. But how do you start now? Where are the entry-level jobs if they all require experience? We've turned job hunting into this labyrinthine quest to answer a drunk wizard's riddles 3. It's broken, obviously. But the question now is whether we want to fix it or replace it with something else. Like, I'm not gonna rant about how woke colleges are a waste of time, because aside from the degree part, there's also value in growing your knowledge in a wide range of topics and the social experience of college, expanding your worldview, etc. But for some jobs, is the pipeline from school to work really that precious? Because that wasn't always the case. Back in the 1950s through 70s, big companies operated within an internal labor market, meaning that they hired entry-level workers, trained them, and promoted them up the ranks. College degrees weren't mandatory to lock down these positions. It was widely accepted that people had the capacity to learn on the job whether or not they passed Philosophy 101. Entry-level jobs were a training ground for young employees to do basic admin while pipeline to scoot employees up the corporate ladder, keeping them around for decades. Organizations didn't do this out of some old-timey obligation to take care of their employees. They did it to keep homegrown talent from moseying over to the competition. It's always gonna be about money. Which is fine, I guess. They're corporations. Not that you'll forget, but every decision being made is through that lens. They're robots looking to eat the largest pile of money, much like that money-eating robot I tried to build and had to destroy. It's a big mistake. Went straight for the children. Also, it cost a lot of money. Anyway, so during the 80s, this big money machine made a huge adjustment. The US economy got slapped with back-to-back recessions in 1980 and 1981. By the end of 1982, the unemployment rate rose to 10.8%, the highest since the Great Depression. Japan and Germany entered the chat as rising manufacturing powerhouses, pressuring US firms to cut costs, outsource talent, and hire outside of the company to meet the bottom line. Remember this scene from Back to the Future Part 3?
No wonder this circuit failed. It says made in Japan.
What do you mean, Doc? All the best stuff is made in Japan.
Unbelievable.
That is this. A guy living in the 50s talking to a rad dude from the 80s. Two different worlds. Companies were now thinking globally, and so United States workers were being pushed aside, which is all to say that employers didn't want to spend the time or money to train people, and instead started prioritizing applicants with college degrees. So, for example, by 2015, when Back to the Future Part 2 takes place, only 16% of working factory production supervisors had college degrees, despite 67% of production supervisors' job postings asking for one. This phenomenon is known as degree inflation, or the shift from jobs that had been done just fine by people without diplomas, now all of a sudden requiring them. It's just the corporate norm now. Training is for school, and work is for work, and you don't get to learn while at work, though you do have to work at school. Curious. According to one survey, over 50% of executives see learning and development programs as a waste of company time, while 84% of workers say they would want it. But for corporate, it's just not on their radar. I mean, look at everything out there. Mass firings and constant mergers and restructuring. It's hard to imagine a company really giving a shit about their employees or their employees giving a shit about them. In fact, right now, employee turnover is both quite high and preventable. One reason is that it's apparently the only way to get a promotion. The company you work for won't do it, so you have to find another job that pays more, a self-promotion. This is all probably why companies get to prioritize people with experience, right? Layoffs and quitting means this constant move from place to place, which of course brings us back to the youngs, the people who probably didn't even appreciate my cool Back to the Future references, who are now struggling to start their lives. Over 50% of recent college grads are underemployed. Meanwhile, CEO pay has risen 1,460% since the late 70s. Don't know, didn't go to school, don't know math. It's broken. A broken machine that may have been designed like that. The problem is that we can't all stop to have it fixed. People are always looking for work, and they have to survive within the rules of a twisted system, even if they know it's messed up. For example, more and more people are applying to grad school, which is usually a sign that a financial crisis is on its way. When jobs aren't available, people weather the storm by chasing masters or PhDs, then emerge from their financial tornado shelters more hireable than ever. In theory, because even that system is broken. MBA grads from traditionally good schools like Harvard are also struggling to find work. Will Hunting was right. Harvard is bullshit. How do you like them apples? Can people still even afford apples, or have they been tariffed?
All right, fine, whatever.
I bet they've been tariffed. So basically, we have this arms race where young people have to do this thing called upskilling, where they just keep training to become more qualified than the next person. You might recognize this as the thing companies used to do for people. The e-learning market was worth nearly $400 billion in 2022. Some of this training is paid for by employers, but a lot of it is charged to the job candidates' credit cards. It's the same problem with college, where it favors people who can afford to do it on top of paying for college, because most of the people upskilling already have college degrees. This is all to say that people are struggling for jobs so much that we've created a second learning industry on top of the first one. You pay for school, then you gotta pay for second more special school, and then eventually you might actually get paid yourself, in theory. It's like a pyramid scheme, or the entertainment industry. Like, I can't help but to be reminded of what it's like in my neck of the woods. Sunny Los Angeles. But if you want to make it as like a filmmaker or comedian, you have to either have a lot of money or connections already, or be willing to work for free. Also, you need Moxie. Moxie is very important. Everyone accepted that for some reason because it's just the industry. But now it's every industry. Welcome, everybody! More and more college grads are applying for internships to just get their foot in the door. Can't stress enough that this is the point in their lives where people should be coming to them with jobs. Everything's upside down. Black is white, dogs are cats, warmbos are bormbos. And today, nearly 1/3 of entry-level jobs require 2 years or more of experience. Hey, that's not what entry level means. Oh, and on top of all of what I said, there's apparently a labor shortage. So young people can't find a job, but also we don't have enough people working jobs. Are we all losing our minds? I know I keep asking this, but did we all die and are living out some kind of Jacob's Ladder situation? Spoilers for Jacob's Ladder. Also, I'm making this sound more confusing than it is because we're gonna go to an ad break and I really wanted to grab you consensually. What is the mystery behind the job paradox?
All right, well,
Find out next after the ads that are not spooky. Or are, I don't know.
Water. It's literally all we have. Okay, fine. Well, we've got air. Yes, okay. The earth, consciousness, whatever.
Yeah,
you get my point. All I'm saying is that water is really important, and too many people are just guzzling down the stuff without knowing what's in it or why. How many H's and O's?
I urgently need to bring
A few of
something to the
each,
next
I
village
assume.
over, but my
And
horse is not particularly
I feel
fast.
great
I'm
about
afraid I
my
won't make it in
guzzling
time.
habits with
Will a
Cove
potion
Pure,
for
a
horses
countertop water
to make them
purifier that
faster
gives
or
me
give them
peace
more
of mind that there
endurance?
aren't any
No.
forever chemicals, arsenic, or lead among my H's and O's. Plus,
Right, bye.
this is what water is supposed to taste like. Pure, clean, no aftertastes. Makes me actually want more, which is saying a lot because I frequently forget to drink my H's and O's. Fill my belly with O's and or H's. And it's much easier to set up than other filters. No drilling, no plumbers.
let's try
Just
hard.
fill it and
No.
plug it
Oh
in.
God, I'm gonna
And the
lose.
best part is you can
What am I
choose
doing?
any temperature, hot
I
or
lost.
cold, with one step. I mean, it just comes out hot or it comes out cold instantly. So forget those fancy chemistry sets and pH paper tabs and get
No!
yourself
I
a
hate this.
Cove Pure water purifier.
Oh my God,
Head
I'm
to
so shitty.
covepure.com/SMN to get $200 off your
Just
purchase.
make the best of
That's
it. That's it.
COVEPURE.com/SMN to get
Still
$200
hurts.
off. That's a lot of dollars off. Your O's will H you, and your H's will be oh so H2O. Covepure.com/SMN. Get it?
Yeah.
Sometimes you get an outfit that's a classic look, and sometimes you get an outfit that's true. But both? Inconceivable! Or at least that's what I thought. Until now. Because True Classic has really done it. Premium, comfortable clothing that looks and feels great without a designer price tag.
Wait,
I
did
love
I
my
never
True
finish it?
Classic
Wait, what the
clothes
fuck?
because they give me that tailored look
I just gave her
without
the other one.
sacrificing
Okay.
comfort. And they give me the confidence and purpose I need to track down the traitorous six-fingered Count Rugen. With clothes as stylish and comfortable as True Classics, it's no wonder they've got more than 200,000 five-star reviews. You can literally feel the difference between these clothes and those bunched up, uncomfortable chainmail that run you a fortune at department stores.
has to be a way to
So
do
forget
this.
overpriced
That, like,
designer brands. Skip the cheap,
land on the
throwaway
center.
stuff.
You can't
True
get it
Classic
right,
is built for
though.
comfort, built to last, and built to give back. You can find them on Amazon, Target, Costco, Sam's Club, basically any massive store. Just find your closest massive store or head right to trueclassic.com/SMN to try them out for yourself. This is True Classic. Do you think this happens every day? Spoiler alert in this ad for Princess Bride, by the way. I should have said that at the beginning, but like everyone's seen it, you know. Also, it's not like spoilers, it's more the plot. He's going after a six-fingered man. You don't know what happens. He gets him and kills the guy. Spoilers.
If you've ever been in the market for a new home, you know home shopping can be a lot. There's so much you don't know and so much you need to know. What are the neighborhoods like? What are the
You know what,
schools
you get
like?
this one. Fuck
Who is the agent and who knows the listing or neighborhood best?
Take your fucking
And why
potion.
can't all this information just be in one place? Well, Now it is on Homes.com. They've got everything you need to know about the listing itself, but even better, they've got comprehensive neighborhood guides and detailed reports about local schools, and their agent directory helps you see the agent's current listings and sales history. Homes.com collaboration tools make it easier than ever to share all this information with your family. It's a whole cul-de-sac of home shopping information, all at your fingertips. Homes.com. We've done your homework.
Are you riveted? Are you Rivendell? That would be weird. Before the break, I revealed that there's actually a labor shortage, even though Gen Z is struggling to find jobs. What sorcery is that? What dark figure could possibly be blamed for creating the worst possible conditions for a country where people and industries are jobless? It's Reagan, obviously. You can trace this back to Ronald Reagan, the actor. It wasn't all his fault, but during the 80s, when companies were focusing on a global market, the Reagan administration was also pushing higher education while actively defunding it. In 1983, they published A Nation at Risk, a report that claimed there was a rising tide of mediocrity among educated Americans, driving guidance counselors, parents, and policymakers to prioritize standardized testing and college prep curricula over trades. At that same time, trade education ended up with less money overall, which mainly affected low-income students and students with disabilities. And so, over time, the administration's focus on academic excellence reinforced the stigma that trade education was the non-college track for people who couldn't hack it academically, a perception that just so happened to disproportionately affect minority and working-class students. This is all to say that a lot of middle-class, predominantly white millennials grew up with teachers saying stuff like, "Go to college or else you'll have to become a plumber," as if that was a bad thing to be. And this is why. And this tradition carried on, even as those types of entry-level jobs dried up. Then, a second thing happened, or was happening. The boomers started to retire, which brought down the labor numbers. And then there was that guy, the one who hates Mexican people, not that one, the other one. Well, also that one too. See, since 2019, immigrants have been responsible for 88% of America's labor force growth. Well, guess what? It turns out that the places we don't have enough trained employees, trade jobs, the service industry, healthcare, well, those are all jobs that are traditionally filled by immigrant populations. If you start rounding them up and sending them to camps, guess what? Also, just don't do that generally, it's evil. Basically, starting with Reagan, Americans were told that there was a class of jobs that they need not focus on. Not necessarily because they were low-paying jobs, but trade jobs that didn't require college educations. Those industries were filled with people who are now retiring or people we've now decided to hate. And now we need more people to take those jobs. Except everyone available, Gen Z, all went into the wrong fields. They have bills to pay. Rent is cosmically and comically high. They can't pick up a fast food gig. They can't retrain to be a construction worker. Porn is HD now, so there's a higher bar to pass there. They can't get a freaking job. Or, I guess, they're just spoiled brats.
Every generation comes and wants to do better than their parents did. Every generation. But I'm sorry, if you only want to work 4 hours, it's going to be harder for you to get a house.
Oh, they don't want to work. They're spoiled brats. They've grown up in a world where it's everyone gets a trophy generation. And like the idea of showing up and going through traffic and being at the office at 8:45 and working till 6, they look at you like you got 10 heads to it.
We still doing this? Really? Dude who created Barstool Sports gonna lecture people on work ethic? Fucking Theodore Rex wants to talk down to kids about work hours? They aren't lazy, you dildos. They spent their entire lives training to be something before learning that we don't need that thing, and are now expected to start over. They're depressed and they're broke. No, Whoopi, the reason they can't get a house isn't because they only want to work a few hours a day. It's because they can't find a fucking job and home prices have doubled in the last 20 years. Unions, pensions, affordable housing, all gone. Killed by a greatest generation fake cowboy and his boomer Gen X followers who now complain that young people don't want to work. You assholes. They're twisting in the wind. The adults in their life made a deal with them. They said, go to school or you'll be flipping burgers, and now the only jobs available are flipping burgers, which absolutely doesn't pay rent, let alone their student loans. And that stuff compounds. It's hard to push yourself to find a job when you're depressed, right? Deaths of despair are up right now.
No way.
Real hot with the kids.
No way.
It's higher for people who graduate into a recession. And
Oh
of
my
course,
God,
it's
I'm so
very
mad.
high among white men without a bachelor's degree. Between 2013 and 2019, the alcohol-related mortality rate,
Okay,
blame
it's over. We're done.
wokeness, but one of them has to be the pressure we put on men specifically when it comes to getting a job. The point is, no, Gen Z isn't lazy. They inherited a fucking nightmare. They were born into 9/11 warmongering, went to high school during a recession, and then graduated into a global pandemic. I'm
this is a
surprised
big
they aren't
fucking
more
mess. Jesus
depressed.
Christ.
And in fact, the ones who are telling employers to fuck off are probably the most well-adjusted. We millennials, we
that
tried to
might be it.
play their
Hold on.
stupid
Okay.
little
I'm
game.
hoping a
We
prayer.
worked for cheap
Cancel a
or
little bit
free.
off.
We stayed late, and we're
Wait,
still
oh my
broke.
God. Oh my
Gen
God.
Z, on the
Oh my
other
God.
hand,
Oh
doesn't
my
give a
God.
shit
Oh, thank
about
God,
company
thank God.
culture and just
Thank you.
wants to get paid. Good for them. Someone has to break the cycle of abuse, and it wasn't my
bet so,
generation. Gen Z is more salary motivated while simultaneously putting more value on personal life than work life. The majority of them don't think wealth is a primary sign of success, fully expect to jump around jobs, and a lot of them don't see their career as their identity. They'd rather work only
look at me.
sometimes remotely and other times in the office. They're not lazy. They're the opposite. They've simply watched the generations before them screw up royally and want to course correct. They're pushing unions again, which we so sorely need. Take Starbucks Workers United,
risk it
which
on
was
a
founded in
medium haggle on this one.
2021 and has
On a
grown
hard
to more than
pallet.
600 coffee shops. Workers at Amazon, Trader Joe's, Apple, Barnes & Noble, Ben & Jerry's, Chipotle, REI, and Volkswagen have successfully formed unions. And at Disney, UPS, and Kaiser Permanente,
Hello, guess
unions
what I
won
have in my
record wage
basket?
increases.
Right? Mushrooms.
Listen to and follow Gen Z. Not about everything, of course, but the world is different from even when Gen X was young. And they know it and see the problems. And the thing is, it's not done
them right
being
now.
different. Right now, as we speak, the entire working world is changing.
They're used-
No, yes, maybe. Let's talk about AI. I don't want to, but it is a factor in this entire nightmare, and Gen Z is right there on the front lines, fighting the robots. They will, more than any of us, no doubt find a way to coexist with AI. Not in a fun end of the Matrix Revolutions kind of way, but for example, one of the things they have to contend with is that employers are using AI software to screen applications and resumes. And wouldn't you know it, the software sucks. AI is very literal, which is why you can't give every damn job to a computer. And so if your resume doesn't have the exact keywords being scanned for, it gets tossed. You might have skills that are transferable to the job you're applying for, but the robot can't
okay,
tell
Brian.
that. Probably should just be a human
need
instead,
to
you
see
know?
something.
Because AI
I'm
recruiters
afraid
are also
somebody might
somehow still
have a
racist and
potion that can make me
sexist.
less
Possibly
noticeable.
because they
Get
were
out of here.
programmed by people who were also racist and sexist.
I
According
want
to
a potion that will help
UW
me dodge
researchers,
blows better
AI will
better
not
during
select
battle.
a black associated
Not before
name
battle.
over a white associated
I
name.
want a potion with some
ever.
bonus effects.
These
I'm
language
willing to
learning
pay
models
handsomely.
favored white associated names 85% of the
Would that
time
be-
and
no,
filtered
would
out
that be
women
just
associated
dexterity? I
names
don't remember which one they used for
89%
that,
of
or
the
is it
time.
strength?
This is bad considering 99% of Fortune 500 companies have already implemented some form of this automation into their hiring process. So corporate America is about to get a lot more white and a lot more male than it already was. Like, the only upside to an AI recruiter is that one would assume they'd look at people based on merit and without bias. And they still managed to make them scumbags. Great work. But of course, Gen Z is also
bonus
using
effects
AI
like
to
what?
write their resumes and cover letters now, because why not? So now the entire hiring process is just two robots talking to each other, I guess. Coincidentally,
I'll grab
according to
that one
one
over
business
there.
consulting firm, 93% of hiring managers report that the hiring process takes longer and is more expensive than just 2 years ago. gee, I wonder if we should just do it with humans like we did for most of human history. But this is gonna be the next decade or so, right? Gen Z will now have to compete with AI systems for entry-level jobs, only for companies to eventually realize that they can't replace those jobs with computers. It's already happening. There is an entirely new industry of people being hired to fix the mistakes of AI. Guys, you've made more steps. How are you making more steps? Just use people to hire people. It's so exhausting to watch these corporations spend billions to learn something we already know. And it's going to be hard. These companies have gone all in on this technology with absolutely no idea how to actually use it. And it's not making them money. A recent MIT report found that 95% of businesses' generative AI pilots are getting zero return on investment. Basically, we're watching a bubble. It's taking jobs, sucking up all the money, and then when it bursts, it's going to cost even more jobs when everyone downsizes. But that isn't to say that AI will go away completely. And there are a lot of jobs that they absolutely can replace. Aside from automation, another reason certain jobs are going away is because companies have been flattening their corporate structure. Basically, middle management has been slowly dissolved and a single person works multiple jobs now. Even large companies are doing this, despite large companies needing more management and communication and not less. But one assumes that AI will fill in those blanks and enable less people to do more work. This applies to everything. Art. A graphic designer, for example, can use AI to alter pictures faster, just like how Photoshop itself changed the industry. Companies can hire fewer people to do their art because each artist works faster and so on. In a lot of ways, AI is not unlike every tech advancement before it. And I guess that brings us to our new segment. Is this like even bad or whatever? So we here on this showdy have been pretty hard on AI in the past, and just to get it out of the way, we still believe everything we've said. AI art sucks, and fascists love it. The hype around AI sucks. The energy it sucks. Most of AI sucks. Not necessarily because AI inherently sucks, but because the people pushing AI are trying to inject it into every precious cranny of our lives. But let's assume, for a moment, that we figure out how to make AI environmentally responsible. It's not, to be clear, but a lot of things aren't. And if it wasn't eating our planet, well, there's a world in which we could potentially like having AI around. I know this because a lot of sci-fi writers have invented those worlds. Everyone loves Data, except for Lore, his evil twin brother. God, TV is so silly. But even if we don't get fuckable robots and their bizarro siblings, we're gonna get some degree of AI. Maybe not literally an intelligence, but a tool. A tool that will save us time the way previous tools have. Star Trek, which I guess I'm talking about, also had a computer that could instantly access information, and a holodeck that would generate images on request. That's probably closer to the AI we'll get used to, and unfortunately, that will allow sinister uses by sinister actors. And yes, it's going to replace jobs. But of course, advancements in technology are always going to do this to some degree. According to the CEO of Indeed, which I guess makes him a job expert, 2/3 of jobs are vulnerable to some sort of AI automation. But it's unclear if he means those jobs will be fully replaced or reduced or augmented. And what usually happens in these situations is that we evolve and create new and different jobs as the old ones become obsolete. Back in the 1870s, roughly half of people in the US worked on a farm. Now, less than 2% of people are farmers, which makes sense. It would be weird if that wasn't true. According to researchers at MIT, 60% of the jobs people had in 2018 didn't exist 80 years earlier. Meanwhile, the World Economic Forum predicted that AI will create 97 million jobs for the 85 million it eliminates. The question and problem, however, is what jobs we're talking about. See, once all these tech freaks calm down and this bubble bursts, we'll likely get more muted and less intrusive AI systems that'll be injected into various industries, like the medical field, and yes, even the entertainment industry. We won't replace all the actors or writers with AI, but we'll probably use AI to aid in visual effects and tedious tasks. There's this thing called rotoscoping, where an artist would trace over an image of a movie frame by frame, either to animate a scene or remove something for a visual effect. I used to do it for very silly videos. It can be satisfying, but it's also quite tedious. That job, which used to be done by a lot of people, is now mostly done by computers. I bring this up because a roto artist not only used to be a major job, but an entry-level job. And this is an issue across all industries with tech advancements. They usually replace the tedious tasks that used to be given to assistant or apprentice roles. Medical students, for example, who do menial tasks like note-taking will have those duties pushed to an AI. And so once again, we're faced with the question of how a person can break into an industry. Not to mention that in the short run, we're absolutely going to see companies go apeshit over replacing jobs with AI. For example, a year ago, the software company Atlassian came out with this reassuring video that AI won't take their jobs. It was a presentation to their staff literally titled, "Why AI Won't Take Your Job."
So today we'll be covering 3 key things. Firstly, our beliefs of where AI is headed, and 3 reasons why we believe AI won't take your job, and hopefully as well my job.
Very reassuring. I bet that worked out, right? You think that worked out? Or do you think we have another clip we're about to cut to?
As 150 jobs disappear in the tech industries, jobs to be replaced by artificial intelligence. The jobs are to be cut from Atlassian, the Sydney-based global software success story that's made billionaires of its local founders. One of them, CEO Mike Cannon-Brooks, broke the news to his staff today in a pre-recorded video message.
So to answer the question of this segment, is it like even bad or whatever? The answer is, yeah. In the short term, it will be bad. But in the long term, it will be, in theory, with a lot of caveats, including regulation that our current legislators are not equipped to implement, maybe fine. Good maybe, even. Again, assuming we figure out how to mitigate the environmental impact of it all and take measures to assure that we're doing something about this migration of jobs. And that's kind of the key to all of this. The reduction of entry-level jobs, the restructuring of corporations, the AI of it all speaks to this larger transitional period that we have to contend with. And that brings us back to the first question of whether we want to fix it or replace it with something else. Work is just different now. Do we refuse that change or do we accept that?
Oh my God, no.
And how do we accept that? That's a good question for after the final ad break, last break ever, forever in this episode. Hi friends! You know, the entire promise of the future was never having to look into someone else's eyes in person, getting everything delivered via hologram into our mind tubes. And yet, we still have to look at and speak with other people on occasion. The doctor, the parole officer, the person who sells you THC and affiliated products. But now you can scratch that last one off the list because of IndaCloud. IndaCloud is a fully legal online dispensary that ships straight to your door. We're talking gummies, a flower, a pre-rolls, whatever receptacle it comes in, IndaCloud's got it. And not only are they cool with our laid-back, gut-busting style of meanwhile, the companies with the most money seem obsessed with replacing everyone with robots that do a worse job than a human and eat all of our water and energy, which seems like the opposite of why we would want robots. It's grim, but it's in some ways similar to transitional periods in our past. And so for a solution, perhaps we can examine what leaders have done in similar situations. Perhaps this is something the next candidate for the Oval Office, assuming we are allowed more elections, can run. So historically speaking, we have some options. For one, we could reintroduce guaranteed jobs programs like FDR's Works Progress Administration, which employed roughly 8.5 million Americans to build schools, hospitals, roads, and other public works. More recently, the Biden administration introduced the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and the Inflation Reduction Act. which was predicted to create more than 9 million jobs in climate infrastructure over the next decade. That could work, you know, assuming we didn't follow up with electing a fucking nightmare who hates everything. So we didn't do that, right? Oh wait, I remember. Despite running on tremendous job creation, Trump seems determined to ruin our economy. Like he's doing a prank or something.
Oh shit, that might be
He
perfect.
signed executive orders freezing both of these acts on his first day in
He's
office.
a little bit off.
This was found to be unlawful and funding
That might be
resumed in
perfect.
April, but you know, the word unlawful hasn't really stopped him in the past. Plus, it's pretty hard to advance quickly among government shutdowns and staff
I
cuts.
think it might be a little...
So, moving on. Another
Matter,
option
it's
is
like
to introduce, continue,
but
and
it'll
expand
move off
retraining
the
and
last
social
turn.
programs like the OGGI bill, which helped veterans go to college or vocational school after they got back from all that war we made them do. There's also trade adjustment assistance, which gave workers who lost their jobs to overseas competition financial support and training. The TAA had been around for 50 years, but in 2022, under the Biden administration, Congress failed to reauthorize the program and it expired, much like our hopes and dreams for a better and brighter future. So,
Didn't mind
yeah,
right? Okay.
also not looking great.
Didn't
And
mind
as
those,
one
right?
assumes, support for unemployed workers via job training and financial assistance has only gotten worse. The Trump administration is aiming to consolidate all of the current 11 federal job training programs, which would effectively cut those funds by nearly 40%. I'll just assume that that extra money is going to everybody's $5,000 Doge checks any day now. On the flip side, some budgets proposed would increase funding for apprentice programs, but those increases
need a
don't come
dangerous
anywhere near the
potion that I
cuts
can
made
use
to
to
education
coat
and
my
job
weapon.
training. It's like setting your house on
potion
fire and
will
then
work best
bragging
here.
about how
If
you bought a
it's
fire
weak,
extinguisher.
I'll pay extra.
All this is to say
Alright, let's do
that government
poison. Let's do
support
weak
for
poison.
struggling workers isn't exactly in vogue right now. We'd have to, you know, probably get better
don't think I
people
have
running the
weak
country.
poison saved,
It's kind of hard to
unfortunately,
think
yeah.
about this when there are like 10 other fascist-shaped obstacles we need to overcome first. But we
wait,
can dream,
is the one I
and
can't
I
get
guess
rid of,
when
'cause
any solution is a
the
pie-in-the-sky hope, we may as well dream bigger in our brand new exciting segment that we'll probably never bring back. What if? Not the Marvel one.
Yeah, that's close.
So let's pretend we had actual leaders in charge. It's fun to pretend. Better yet,
It doesn't
we
really
have a
fucking
magic
matter.
amulet that grants all of our wishes. Do those wishes come at a terrible price? We will cross that bridge when we get to it. Or we'll just wish that bridges don't exist so we don't have to. Surely no unforeseen consequences there. What are some ways to mitigate the problems of
There we go.
AI and a lack of entry-level jobs? Or heck, how do we turn that problem into a solution? Turn a dystopia into a utopia.
There
Or
you
better
go,
yet,
friend.
a we-topia. A world where robots do all of our jobs for us should be good, after all. So why don't we make it good? For example, robot taxes. This isn't my idea, and a lot of people have come up with it. But what if we
Bye-bye.
tax the
All right,
companies
let's get
using
on with it.
AI to replace workers? You know how corporations love taxes? Then we would give the money generated from automation back to the people whose lives were most disrupted by it. These funds could be used to educate and train displaced workers so they can re-enter the workforce.
I destroy
Or
potions that I
we
don't
just
want anymore.
pay
like, why
people
can't I
to
get rid of it?
exist. You know, universal basic income or universal basic capital programs.
I guess I could just
The
leave it
difference
somewhere, like,
between
like,
the two
I leave it in
is
my
that
room,
UBI would give us
where I wanna
recurring
stop
payments, whereas
myself.
UBC
I'll leave
would
it
make
by
us
the bed.
stakeholders with equity. Basically, you either get a check in the mail or a stock certificate. I feel like the check would be better in case the president tweets that your company's too woke and that the little certificate's worthless and the Antifa is doing woke stuff at Coca-Cola or whatever. I don't know. But the important key here is to focus on pre-distribution rather than redistribution, which we should also still do, by the way. We're eventually going to have trillionaires and dirt poor starving people. It's disgusting. But companies find all sorts of ways to get out of paying money once they get it, you know, because they're greedy. Pre-distribution ensures they don't
Can I
have a
create
choice in the
albedo?
matter. This isn't even a pipe dream, by the way.
Or no, I
People
haven't
have
agreed.
done
Did I
this
agree already?
already. When oil extraction began off the coast of Norway in 1967, their government used a wealth redistribution program to tax the shit out of oil companies and funnel that capital into a sovereign wealth fund. This was the Norwegian government's Plan A, not their plan whoops. And over in Ireland, they're working on permanent universal basic income for artists, just paying people to do art. Heck, it's not even just happening in those fancy rain and snow countries. In fact, it's happening in the exact opposite place, New Mexico. New Mexico's taxes on oil production just surpass the revenue they get from income taxes. And so legislators use the $2 billion plus to cover childcare subsidies, to make college tuition and trade school education free, and to lower personal income taxes. Turns out it's so easy to fix a lot of problems if we just go to the people hoarding incredible amounts of wealth and make them pay toward the common good.
Yes.
Look, it comes down to this. It's not working anymore. People want to be working, but the system isn't working. The system where people go to school and get jobs and can afford a house and to raise a family. It's broken. It broke a while ago. And as technology advances, it just gets more and more broken.
Like, what the fuck is
No
that?
amount of the richest guy in history on the planet saying, oh, everyone will simply buy 2 of my robots that don't exist yet, is going to change that. So now we're at a crossroads. On one end, we could just keep doing what we're doing and pretend it's still working. Let capitalism continue on, and corporations will continue to get bigger and bigger and take over fundamental government services and essential resources until we're all wearing Weyland-Yutani jumpsuits. That is the direction we're currently facing. One where capitalism dies and is replaced with a form of techno or neo-feudalism. That's what's happening now. Everyone is struggling to live, driving their Ubers and starting their GoFundMes, and corporations are deciding which scraps we get to keep. The deal has been broken. Capitalism is dying, and its primary beneficiaries are shoveling people's livelihoods into a furnace that powers the life support system keeping it going. So maybe we have to pull the plug. Kill it on our terms. With a shovel, or fireworks maybe. And I think Gen Z is sensing this. Their waning attention to work culture is perhaps something we should admire and take note of. This country was built on a Protestant work ethic where our vocation is our spiritual salvation.
You might even say I embody
But what happens when there aren't any vocations left? Do we all just starve? Or perhaps we should start thinking about a future where not everyone has to get a job in order to survive, and not just because there, aren't any.
Is this magical
But
vision? She wants
isn't
magical
that
vision?
like the entire goal of civilization? When you picture a utopia or heaven,
Right? Am I
do you
crazy?
picture
Is that what she
people
wants?
having to work in factories?
Not
Or
hallucination,
do you
I'm
picture
assuming.
cool cloud
She wants, like,
orgies
magic
with
glasses.
hot tubs and f***ed up masks because it's Halloween and orgy? So anyway, that solves the problem with entry-level jobs. You are welcome, Gen Z. Give me your Doge checks.
She didn't want anything else.
There
right?
are no Doge checks? But they said there'd be... But they said there would be Doge checks. Well, that's the end of that episode. Make sure to like and subscribe. I said it at the beginning, and I'm saying it at the end. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Shocked his dog.
You could see him reach over, hits the thing, the dog fucking yelps.
Initially, even Hassan's community was starting to question, did he just shock Kaya? Did he just use a shock collar on stream?
He zaps the poor little dog for getting up, and then he says, "Why'd you make me do that?"
So what did he just do to that dog?
Today, I want to talk about something that's been all over my feed lately and has been driving me absolutely crazy. For the past week, the internet has been dominated by the conspiracy theory that Twitch streamer Hassan Piker abused his dog using a shock collar during a Twitch live stream. There is, to be clear, zero evidence that his dog Kaya was even wearing a shock collar during that live stream. Kaya is pictured wearing a canvas collar with a little AirTag holder in it in the original clip, where she yells yelped once after seemingly catching her nail on the dog bed. This led to a bunch of internet-pilled psychos crawling through hours and hours and hours of footage claiming that Piker secretly abuses his dog. Their evidence of this is not even the footage where Kaya yelps. It's that in totally different clips, where she doesn't even appear to be in distress at all, she's wearing a collar with a small green light on it. Piker showed this collar on stream. It's an electronic vibration collar with zero shock capabilities. Attempting to debunk this conspiracy that Hassan abuses his dog, however, has become largely impossible. First of all, you can't prove a negative, which everyone pushing this crazy conspiracy theory, by the way, actually knows. It would be like asking me to prove that I've never punched someone. Again, you can't prove a negative. After Hassan revealed the vibration collar on stream, bad actors attempted to leverage the fact that he put a small piece of tape on the back to conceal his phone number, which is like written in Sharpie on the back of the little vibration box, as evidence that he somehow secretly modified and soldered down shock collar prongs, something that would basically be like impossible to do, like impossible. I'll pause here to say that I've met Kaya IRL. I have never seen her in a shock collar. I've spoken to people who have walked Kaya, babysit Kaya, probably spent hundreds of hours with this dog. And according to everyone I spoke to, in 0 instances has she ever been abused. Not a single guest on Piker's Twitch stream in the years and years and years that he's had Kaya has said that they've ever seen Piker mistreat Kaya.
It's not a shock collar. I've seen that collar. I've used that collar before. I've babysat that dog.
And the only reason more influencers aren't speaking out publicly is because the people perpetuating this vicious harassment campaign are threatening them into silence. Big-time influencers are having their brand deals jeopardized and facing serious business consequences for even suggesting that they might publicly come out in support of Hassan. It's actually happening on a scale that I have never seen before. Multiple journalists in group chats, by the way, have been talking to people have like wanted to report out this story, but other influencers are so scared of the harassment and abuse that they might get that they don't even want to speak on the record with their name. And yes, I know also, by the way, that making this video will definitely just put a target on my back, but I don't care because the people perpetuating these conspiracy theories already hate me. Everyone who spends any modicum of time with Hassan knows how much he loves that dog. Kaya is one of the most pampered and spoiled dogs in Los Angeles. Who knows why Kaya yelped that like one day, but she is literally a dog. I grew up with dogs, multiple dogs, that worked as therapy dogs actually in hospitals. And sometimes if a dog steps on their foot or catches their nail wrong or something or just gets startled, they'll yelp. Kaya's also literally only yelped like that once, like in all of Hassan's years of streaming. It's not like this is some regular thing. And also what's crazy to me too is shock collars, which are commonly used in dog training. They're not like tasers. They usually give like a crawling sensation on a dog's skin. But the idea that Piker is somehow secretly abusing his dog and shocking Kaya until she's in pain repeatedly is just completely made up in people's heads. This is a dog that lives a life I guarantee you is significantly better than anyone watching this video. The idea that dozens of high-profile guests on Piker's stream and every single person who's ever spent any meaningful time with Kaya would all be involved in some secret, years-long, elaborate cover-up is insane. Like, literally, if you believe this, you have lost touch with reality. The entire thing is the most idiotic and deranged conspiracy theory that I think I've ever covered. Like, this is literally like, it's QAnon flat earther level shit. Nevertheless, the story has been weaponized by the far right to launch a multi-platform smear campaign against Piker. Laura Loomer has posted relentlessly about it. Tech founder Palmer Luckey is offering $100,000 to anyone who can tear apart Hassan's vibration collar, which I just want to say again, Kaya's like not even wearing in that original clip. She was just wearing her regular canvas collar with the AirTag holder. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Prominent Silicon Valley venture capitalists are weighing in. Posts pushing the conspiracy theory are among the most viewed posts of all time on subreddits like Livestream Israeli news sites have been mainstreaming the conspiracy along with a slew of low-quality SEO-driven outlets. Democratic influencers who are part of Chorus and the 1630 Fund's dark money influence campaign, like Suzanne Lambert, a failed comedian who calls herself a Regina George liberal, have also been pumping out this conspiracy. Even PETA has weighed in, though to be fair, PETA was like, Hassan said he doesn't use a shock collar. Like, what are we supposed to say? Piker has been subject to politically driven smear campaigns for years, but this latest manufactured controversy reveals a toxic new dynamic that I think will define the next era of the internet. Outrage-driven, Gamergate-style social media hate campaigns combined with the 24/7 video surveillance machine. Twitch streamers like like Piker are the first to experience this destructive combination, but as more and more footage of everyone becomes available online, anyone who angers the wrong group could suffer a similar fate. And of course, all of this will be exacerbated by AI. For years, we've been told that constant surveillance is a good thing, that it's vindicating. Silicon Valley executives claim that widespread video recording will prevent abuse, harassment, crimes, etc. This has led to the mass adoption of things like police body cameras, 24/7 video capture on our streets, and a sprawling crowdsourced surveillance machine on social media. Social media platforms are actively incentivizing this surveillance, prioritizing video footage and hours-long live streams over every other type of content format. Just last month, billionaire, soon-to-be TikTok owner Larry Ellison said that a vast AI-fueled video surveillance system would ensure, quote, citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on. This comment is a perfect encapsulation of the delusional fantasy pushed by so many in Silicon Valley, that the surveillance state will be used for good. The narrative is seductive. If we could just see everything in 4K, disputes over what really happened would collapse, the thinking goes. If everything in life is videotaped and archived, then the real truth of these messy situations would be indisputable. But Hassan Piker's dog collar incident shows that this theory is catastrophically wrong. Almost no one is more surveilled than a Twitch streamer like Piker. He broadcasts almost every waking hour of his life. There are tens of thousands of hours of archived footage of him and his dog. When he leaves the house or goes out in public, fans videotape his every move. He documents his own life on social media too, posting videos across Instagram and TikTok. In theory, this should make it harder for bad actors to manufacture controversies. Such total visibility should make false accusations impossible. If everything is on record, then surely it would be easy for anyone to see the truth of the situation. But the opposite is true. Instead of video being used as a tool to debunk conspiracies, it's increasingly used as a tool to validate them. In Piker's case, this has meant that an endless stream of years-old clips is being repackaged and miscontextualized in order to further a politically driven hate campaign. The dozens of out-of-context video clips spreading on social media, racking up millions of views in some cases, have become a digital Rorschach test. Albert Fox-Khan, founder of the Surveillance Technology Oversight Project, said, quote, "We are always given the same lie that somehow video is objective. But the truth is that there's so much power in how it's interpreted and edited. Even the most trivial form of tracking, even someone's own Twitch stream, can turn into this weapon against them. Every camera is now a panopticon in the making." Josh Citarella, an artist and researcher who studies online communities and radicalization, put it this way, quote, "Conspiracy theories and disinformation are flourishing because endless video archives are available. So long as the video archive exists, people can cherry pick and make these new narratives. If the videos didn't exist or were closed, then the narratives wouldn't seem credible. The possibility of people finding disingenuous clips to piece together a false story in an even marginally convincing way wouldn't be possible. Because each new clip has the potential to go viral and every major social platform right now is incentivizing video, users across the internet are incentivized to participate in these crowdsourced forensic investigations. The hate campaign against Piker has already spawned a cottage industry of video analysts and Reddit internet detectives who have been poring over thousands of hours of live streaming footage, analyzing every video frame and constructing elaborate conspiracy theories about what really happened. The cycle is not entirely new. The tactics being used against Piker are ripped directly from the Gamergate playbook. The goal is to isolate a target, manufacture controversy, weaponize social platforms and traditional media to spread lies, and orchestrate sustained network harassment with the eventual goal of making someone so controversial that they essentially end up bankrupt and deplatformed. But most Gamergate-style campaigns have traditionally relied on more text-based media or vague accusations about the business dealings or journalistic practices. Bad actors might use a few screenshots here and there or some out-of-context comments, but the doctored evidence presented in these campaigns news hasn't traditionally been video in nature. That has all changed with the rise of clip culture. The proliferation of this new medium and the sheer scale of this anti-Hassan Piker hate campaign shows that we're entering a new era of the weaponization of the internet, driven by attacks where video has undeniably replaced text as the raw material for conspiracy theories. Albert Fox Khan, again of the Surveillance Technology Oversight Project, which is awesome, by the way, said, quote, "With more footage being taken from more places and shared more widely at a time where journalism institutions are breaking, rather than being a way to bring us back down to the ground, video ends up just fueling these conspiracy theories." Influencers willingly monetize their own surveillance in order to turn their lives into content for profit. But if we continue down this path, the experiences of Twitch streamers will become more common in everyday life. The weaponized internet will merge with the surveillance infrastructure that we've built, and ordinary people will live under the same microscope as influencers do today. As the couple at the Coldplay concert this past summer, or the security guard at Charlie Kirk's Final Turning Point event likely realized, there is no way to opt out of this new system. AI will inevitably make all of this worse. Deepfake video generation tools are being rolled out en masse while media literacy plummets. Bad actors who are already comfortable manipulating real footage will begin fabricating videos of their targets or subtly altering them using AI. AI will also make it easier to search, catalog, and weaponize every video ever recorded. Finding all available clips of someone making the wrong hand gesture or wearing a specific color or moving their body in a certain way could be as easy as clicking a few buttons. If an influencer broadcasting tens of thousands of hours of his life for years can be successfully smeared by a single misleading clip, what chance does a regular person have when a few seconds of their life goes viral? What recourse do they have when they're unjustly smeared by thousands online? Institutional fact-based reporting outlets have been all but dismantled. And even when a journalist does debunk misinformation, like I'm trying to do right now, hello, audiences are primed to fall for narratives driven solely by whoever can post the loudest and clip the fastest. This type of video clip-driven harassment can be incredibly profitable. Platforms like X, TikTok, and Instagram reward video views with cash payouts. Bad faith actors can rake in thousands of dollars by posting a flood of context-free, shareable clips or dissecting video footage on a live stream. Any clip, no matter how benign, can be reframed in service of a particular narrative. For example, on Monday, thousands of X users falsely claimed that a sound made by Twitch streamer Austin Cho snapping his gum was actually Hassan Piker pressing some sort of secret shock button. I'm telling you, this stuff is deranged. In other videos, bad actors simply take any small movement by Kaya readjusting her position on her little dog bed as evidence of her being shocked into submission. Again, there's zero evidence of any of these delusional claims. People have also falsely claimed that Kaya is forced to sit behind Piker throughout his entire broadcast like a prop, which is just an insanely false claim that can be debunked by watching any of his streams where Kaya frequently moves about or goes to grab water or leaves the room. The Piker controversy might read as mindless internet drama, but we desperately need people to start caring about these things and recognizing these types of incidents as the internet bellwethers that they are. We also need to be extremely vocal in calling out bad actors pushing these extremely politically driven lies about Piker and others. The fact that so many Democrat influencers, including Instagram accounts that even claim to be anti-disinformation, are pushing these grossly false, unsubstantiated claims as part of an effort to smear one of the most vocal leftists online is deeply disturbing. But that's what these centrist liberal influencers do, and that's why they're so dangerous. Just as with the original Gamergate over a decade ago, liberals who happily align with fascists to attack leftists will blatantly repost and promote false far-right smears about leftists in order to launder them to a mainstream audience. It's pitiful. This cycle is pitiful. Meanwhile, we are all sleepwalking into a future defined by universal surveillance coupled with algorithmically incentivized online outrage. Our internet is devoid of any meaningful privacy protections, and video content specifically is being rewarded. Profit-driven tech platforms have ensured that bad actors and extremists reign, and we've allowed tech oligarchs to dismantle all vestiges of a shared reality. And I think we're really only beginning to see the consequences of this new system. As Albert Fox Kahn said, quote, "The lesson of history is clear. This is only going to become a more prevalent problem for more people as the technology continues to get cheaper and more ubiquitous. What might seem like the absurd price of fame today may soon become the inescapable price of participating in modern life." We need to start treating this problem like the existential threat to democracy and truth that it is. And that means demanding real accountability from platforms that profit off outrage. We need to fight the expansion of the surveillance state tooth and nail by killing surveillance and censorship laws like the Kids Online Safety Act. We need to fight against Section 230 reform and push for comprehensive privacy regulation. The profit-driven tech landscape that rewards engagement at any cost needs to be dismantled and broken up. We need legal frameworks that make intentional harassment committed with actual malice punishable. We need algorithmic transparency laws that force companies like Meta, X, and TikTok to disclose how their recommendation systems prioritize inflammatory or misleading content. AI developers and hosting platforms should be required to watermark synthetically generated video and audio content, and we should develop easily accessible tools to track when and how footage has been altered. And I know this is self-serving as a journalist, but actual journalism and civic institutions desperately need investment. We need an independent fact-checking infrastructure that moves at the same speed as these viral clips. We need public education systems that teach basic media literacy alongside skills like reading and writing. For instance, members of the public, in my opinion, should all know how to verify video footage, analyze metadata, understand concepts like algorithmic bias, and most importantly, understand and recognize how these manufactured outrage campaigns work. Of course, doing that would require for-profit mainstream corporate media organizations to stop feeding these outrage smear campaigns and laundering them simply because they're aligned with the far-right actors perpetuating them, but that's a topic for another day. More broadly, we need a cultural shift away from surveillance culture as entertainment. I've talked about this before in my videos, but if there's one thing you take away from this, please stop filming strangers for content. Do everything you can to fight against the surveillance machine. And most importantly, actually, stop sharing these contextless clips that fuel these manufactured outrage cycles. Even if you don't like Hassan Piker, even if you think he's the worst person in the world, don't feed into this QAnon conspiracy crap. Call out people who you see online who are feeding into these hate campaigns too, because until we make it socially and economically costly for influencers who participate in these Gamergate-style coordinated attacks on leftists, this cycle will only get worse. As many of you who follow me know, I'm also frequently subject to these bad faith smear campaigns. Thankfully, there's not tens of thousands of hours of footage on me yet, at least, but the exact same actors lying about Hassan Piker's dog collar regularly lie about me. These are not people with any sort of commitment to the truth. They've targeted my advertisers, and I literally have 0 brand deals right now, in large part because I've been deemed too controversial for brands to partner with. So if you like this video, please support my work via the Patreon link below or buy a paid subscription to my Substack newsletter, UserMag, at usermag.co, where I publish bi-weekly internet culture news roundups. On my Patreon, I publish bonus content and host chats with my followers and do monthly Q&A live streams. I actually just did one on Monday. Every ounce of your support makes such a huge difference, and it really means so.
Is that the ADL and the FBI have had a breakup. So,
for now.
And it all seems to have been prompted by James Comey, because it seems like this administration is finding out that the FBI under Comey and the ADL worked together and talked about anti-Semitism on the rise in the United States. Kash Patel tweeted, James Comey wrote love letters to the ADL and embedded FBI agents with them, a group that ran disgraceful ops spying on Americans. Okay, that era is over. The FBI won't partner with political fronts masquerading as watchdogs. So not partner with Turning Point USA, not partner with Israel writ large.
Well, didn't it start because the ADL also criticized TPUSA?
Yes, thank you, Lana, because the origin story of this is that the FBI found an entry about Charlie Kirk that called Kirk basically a Christian nationalist and a white supremacist. And so the ADL deleted that entry, but no matter, that's the
Elon
reason.
fuck? I like lose internet? What the fuck?
The big fun thing is that the
be the one that I
ADL
avoided
and the FBI have had a breakup. So,
For now.
for now.
That
And
is,
it
like,
all
right
seems
next
to have
to
been
the sticky
prompted by James Comey because it seems like,
it's right over here or
this
something on the other
administration
side.
is finding out that the FBI under Comey
I think that's
and
sticky.
the ADL worked together and talked about anti-Semitism on the rise in the United States.
Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm wrong.
Cash Patel tweeted, James Comey wrote love letters to the ADL and embedded FBI agents with them, a group that ran disgraceful ops spying on Americans. Okay, that era is over. The FBI won't partner with political fronts masquerading
spying
as
on Americans is definitely
watchdogs.
not over. It
So,
actually
not
just
partner
kicked
with
into
Turning
high
Point
gear.
USA, not partner with Israel writ large.
Yeah.
Well, didn't it start because the ADL also criticized TPUSA?
Yes, thank you, Lana, because
Ooh,
the,
shit, that actually
the
might work.
origin story
It's so
of
risky,
this
but
is
I
that
also don't need the
the
fear potion
FBI
right
found
now,
an
so it's like, who
entry
cares?
about Charlie Kirk that called
Oh, no,
Kirk
it's gonna get destroyed.
basically a Christian
It's for sure
nationalist
gonna
and a
get
white
destroyed.
supremacist. And so the ADL deleted that entry, but no matter,
Oh
that's what is, that's
And
the
then Elon
reason.
Musk called them a hate group.
Yes,
Yes,
he did.
yes.
Elon Musk
I love it.
tweeted that the ADL was a hate group, quote tweeting Cernovich,
Yeah.
good people. The ADL hates Christians, therefore it is a hate group. This is September of this year, guys. This is now. And again, we could put aside the ADL for 1 second. The fact that they worked so hard to do things like excuse Elon Musk's
I can't get a 3 for this
awkward
too.
gesture they called when
it's probably
he
best to,
sig
keep
heiled
the mentality of
guys.
aiming for it
They
either way,
tweeted,
so I'm
it's a
just
delicate moment, it's a new day, and so many are on the edge. Our politics are inflamed, and social media only adds the anxiety. Elon Musk made an awkward gesture in a moment of enthusiasm.
It happens.
Not a Nazi salute. Sometimes you just gotta sig heil. They have worked back over, they've, above and beyond. In addition to the fact that they have been tracking Palestine activists for the government and calling any anti-Israel criticism anti-Semitism.
Right.
They are premiers in that. And yet,
that was a shitty
lo and
joke.
behold, the white nationalists will never love them back because they are Jewish. Now, nobody tells Stephen Miller he's Jewish.
Yeah.
He'll be the last to know.
Yes.
But it's just so predictable that this was going to happen. I don't know, Matt, before we talk about what the ADL has done.
Right.
Don't forget, prior to this, long time ago, the ADL had beef with a lot of the social media companies because they were pushing a lot of that, when Trump won, they were pushing a lot of the hate speech stuff that forced Mark Zuckerberg. A lot of that was pre-October, way before that. The tides kind of changed after October 7th.
Absolutely.
Yes, because the ADL has been, more and more co-opted, as basically a Zionist front. Every year, it would do it more and more, especially once Jonathan Greenblatt took over at the head. But yeah, I mean, looking at this, it's also obvious and predictable. I find it really funny that the ADL is being bit. They accidentally are biting themselves in the ass by having a past that at one point sort of resembled a civil rights group. So, because of that, they have an entry about Christian identity hate groups. That is an undeniable fact. The Southern Poverty Law Center lists them. So does the ADL, because at one point the ADL did stuff like that. That's not to say it's ever been really a very good organization, but it at least had some sort of role that it assigned itself. The fact that they are now being pushed in a position where they have to not list some hate groups that explicitly hate Jews, by the way, hate groups that are explicitly anti-Semitic. The fact that they have to not list those in order to gain favor with the FBI.
You just deleted it. I mean, you deleted it like RFK is deleting stuff at the CDC.
Right.
Trump is they're all deleting stuff about white. Everyone's deleting stuff about violent white extremism.
Right. And like when it comes to the ADL specifically, giving themselves the role of, well, we're the people who, we're trying to protect Jews in America. The fact that they are unwilling to fight back on the idea that, yes, there are Christian nationalists or Christian identity hate groups that hate Jews explicitly. The fact that they are willing to throw American Jews under the bus for the sake of gaining favor with an FBI and an administration, all for the sake of Israel.
Because
Does that not give away the whole game?
It's more important they hate Muslims
yes.
than love the Christians.
Yes, 100%. And the funny thing about the Christian identity thing that came out, they got ADL got for it. And even from some people I know, some activists I know, who are like, what are the ADL, which is, as we know, a Zionist front group, is saying that all Christians are bad. And it's like, no, that isn't what that entry means. But I also don't care to correct them because I know very well that the ADL is, even the good stuff they do is in bad faith. Faith. Like everything they do is for the sake of
What's
Israel.
really obnoxious about the ADL occupying the space that it does is that we do need hate group and hate crime trackers that are honest.
Right.
That do not, conflate things like anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism.
Right.
We specifically
They need to be
research-
non-denominational.
Right.
They need that, but also I do think there need to be specific. I mean, like, okay, we, go to CARE to learn about, Islamophobic hate, and we go, to the ADL to learn about anti-Semitic attacks. But of course, less and less ever since, we see that they conflate again anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. From Axios, and this I didn't know. This warrants, more, a deeper look. But in the 50s and 60s, the FBI was interested in disrupting communist activity, and the ADL welcomed help from law enforcement trying to expose radical movements on the right and the left. So in other words, the ADL, it has also tried to, work with the FBI, ousting any leftists.
They've always been turncoats.
Yeah, right, exactly. And in exchange, they receive information about white supremacists and hate movements, which I'm just like, don't work with the FBI.
Well, the ADL has always been compromised. And that's the thing, is like the ADL, not unlike a lot of different civil rights organizations and different organizations in general that purport to do one thing and kind of secretly do another, especially on the left, or not the left, but like especially liberal organizations. The problem, what makes it so disgusting with the ADL is that it is just so blatantly contributing to anti-Semitism in America, and it doesn't mind throwing Jews under the bus if it means supporting the state of Israel.
Yeah,
which is like,
I really would think
that to me is like, well then
away from
stop
slow
pretending to be anything else. Stop pretending you're not just a mouthpiece for the state of Israel. Stop requiring states like at the local level to use their particular definition of hate crime, of hate group, of anti-Semitism, of anti-Zionism. Like the amount of influence that they have, not just like on a federal level, but on a local level, is massive.
Yeah.
And they need to be culturally, for every American, synonymous with a genocide. They need to be known that, oh, this group does not be like, oh, the SS is giving us some statistics on hate crime. Don't trust the SS on that. You know what I mean? Like you need to associate them with what they actually are, which is genocidal monsters.
Yeah. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bituation Do it.
XP. No, stop. Wait, no, what the?
Turning now to data centers, there is some grassroots political energy against the rising data centers across the entire nation, which is sucking up electricity and driving up power bills. Let's put this up here on the screen. This is from Dave Weigel over at Semaphore. He writes, quote, as electricity bills rise, candidates in both parties blame data centers. And he in particular he highlights a few local incidents which kind of show you where the major grassroots energy is. And this is entirely bipartisan. So for example, this was a Friday night, dueling candidates for a Board of Supervisors seat in a suburban county in Gainesville, Virginia. And this was in the middle of a debate. A candidate, Patrick Harders, who is the Republican, says, I think we should personally block all future data centers. His Democratic opponent then agrees. The quote, the crushing and overwhelming weight of data centers is a crisis, with massive companies, quote, having us as residents pay for their energy. As electricity bills rise, a growing number of US candidates in both parties are pointing to high energy costs of data centers booming thanks to tech companies' AI investments. And here in Virginia, or where we live in Virginia, which is where we have off elections in 2025, it's actually becoming a live issue. And they point specifically to how the more establishment-like candidates, like the current governor, Glenn Youngkin, has called data centers, quote, an immense opportunities for localities across the Commonwealth, and actually vetoed a bill. It was a May veto of a regulatory bill, which would have tried to look at data center energy demand. But now, there is actually a fight in the gubernatorial election where the Republican candidate, who is the GOP nominee, is sticking with him on the issue. But Abigail Spanberger, the more establishment CIA, literally CIA. It's not a joke, actual CIA, which, you know, I guess is a good representative for Northern Virginia. And what she said is on the issue is she's kind of wishy-washy and tried to make it more about building power, but she's actually facing some grassroots from the Democratic Party. So one senator, local state senator, said, quote, my advice to Abigail has been, look at where the citizens of Virginia are on data centers. And she specifically says there are a lot of people willing to be single issue split ticket voters based on this. The Republican candidate sidestepped the issue, but this just demonstrates how the data center issue, I've seen the city of Tucson just rose up against one. There's this in the state of Virginia. They point actually to Faz Shakir, the former campaign manager for Bernie Sanders, who has been funding or helping efforts across the nation to rise up against data centers. This, in my opinion, is the sleeper populist issue across the entire nation. Right. Whoever wants to grab it by the horns and rip, you're ready to roll. Nobody wants to pay 267% more for electricity bill for AI pornography, which I'll get to here in a little bit.
Yes, and like the way this works is that the data centers come in, they don't bring their own energy supply with them. Like that could be the solution to this. Hey, you want to build a data center? You are a multi-trillion-dollar company. Go figure out how to power it. Right. Go build a solar farm somewhere. Go build a gas plant.
Well, that should be the requirement. The requirement needs to be, if you're going to build it, you have to pay for it. And not just in terms of driving up electricity price. You have to prove to the county or to whatever the locality or the state that in exchange for coming here, you will build a power source that will at the very least power. Now, in my opinion, it shouldn't even be that. It should be, you need to build a power source that also give back to the community, but we can cross that bridge a little bit later.
Right, instead they want tax breaks.
Yes,
and they want giveaways.
Which is what they're getting. And by and large, that's entirely what they're getting.
Right.
They're not paying anything.
And the way your power bill works in general is that the utility goes to the regulator, and because it's the most highly regulated thing in the country. The utility goes to the regulator and says, look, here's the demand that we are facing currently. Here's the demand that we are projecting out over the next 10 years. Here's the supply of power that we're projecting out over the next 10 years. Supply and demand. And here is the price that we need to charge the ratepayers in order to make our mandated by law, like 3%, 5%, whatever their profit is by law. So therefore, the two factors that go into it, what the regulators tell the utilities they can charge you is the amount of supply and the amount of demand. The big, beautiful bill took something like 10%, like roughly, maybe 10% is a conservative estimate of future power production over the next like 10 years, like offline. So 10% less supply coming in. And it also supercharged the AI boom and everything else. So these data centers, like you said, 40%, eating up 40% in Virginia.
Yes, 33% in the state of Oregon. That's where I'm like, Oregon, wake up. Where are you guys? You're a Democrat-run state. Theoretically, you shouldn't be wanting, 33% of all power generation to be going to data centers, which is just, which they're probably, I have no proof of this, but I just off the top of my head. Oregon's here, Northern California's here. Why are Northern California companies, which are technology, building a data center in Oregon? My guess is something to do with regulation and or tax break. It has to be, right? Why else would we be sucking up 33% of power? Do something about it. You're screwing, you're a small state. You can't afford for 1/3 of all your power to go to a single industry. It's nuts.
And it takes, if you wanted to build a gas turbine, Trump wants to do fossil fuels. If you want to do a gas turbine, it would take at least 7 years to get it online if you started right now. Nuclear power plant, 10,
it's about
15.
7
I mean, the most hopeful case. Solar, you can get up in like 2 years. Wind, like 2 years. And just getting it in the pipeline actually changes those two kind of graph lines, because now your projected supply is higher in the future. So the amount that they can ask the regulators to be able to charge you is less. So even if the power is not online yet, your price still goes down, assuming that it's going to come. So that's why Trump taking all of this clean energy offline is driving up prices like right now, especially as the supply crunch is hitting.
Yeah, it's
all for
so important.
A little bit of AI porn.
Yes, so let's get to that now. And I haven't been more worried about this than anything in a long time. I knew it was coming, but I didn't expect it to be announced like this. Let's put it up here on the screen. Long-winded, proud announcement from Sam Altman. I'll read it in full. We made ChatGPT pretty restrictive to make sure we were being careful with mental health issues. We realized this made it less useful and enjoyable to many users who had no mental health problems. But given the seriousness of the issue, we wanted to get this right. Now that we have been able to mitigate the serious mental health issues and have new tools, we are going to be able to safely relax the restrictions in most cases. In a few weeks, we plan to roll out a new version of ChatGPT, which will allow people to have a personality that behaves more like what people liked about one of the original models. If you want your ChatGPT to respond in a very human-like way, or use a ton of emoji or act like a friend, ChatGPT should do it, but only if you want it, not because we are, quote, usage maxing. In December, as we roll out age gating more fully as part of our, quote, treat adult users like adults principle, we will allow even more like erotica for verified adults. Okay, let me sit with this, because he says, we have to be careful with mental health issues. Now that we have put into place some restrictions, we are going to allow and say ChatGPT to act more like a friend, and particularly like your girlfriend. And that's why it won't do anything for mental health issues, right, Ryan? Famously, people who want ChatGPT to talk to them like their girlfriend and produce personalized pornography have nothing going on in terms of their, and that definitely won't do anything about their mental state. And then second, just the casual nature of personalized erotica for verified adults. Combine that with Sora, okay? AI porn, it's here. We all knew it was coming. But this is what we're all paying this extra money for to these data centers, to crunch all of the GPU power source so that so that teenagers and others can be sitting around producing personalized AI porn. Also, this, if you wanted to say, like, if you wanted to design something that was going to destroy America, you would start with something which is a quasi-useful technology, and you would get everybody on it.
A better Google search.
Right, better Google search, and you would get everybody on it. And you say, hey, this and that, but you can't do certain things, right? And then what you would do is you would make sure that every teenager and young person is using that technology. And once they're using the technology, you say, hey, by the way, you can also use it for pornography purposes. And so now all of a sudden you have a vast surveillance machine which you use for your finances, for your Google search, and to produce your highly personalized, disgusting sexual fetishes, and it creates the greatest blackmail machine known to mankind. That's number one. Number two is what would you design to deracinate and to destroy the American male, more so than something like ChatGPT, which is to decrease social interaction, to increase time on platform, then personalize AI pornography, and at the same time roll up billions and billions of dollars in profit and use that profit to make sure that you lobby against any social force that tries to restrict this type of technology in the hands of children, of teenagers, and of young people, and to make sure that the time on platform is maximized to win. This is what it looks like. So, you know, we had a theory we talked about with Crystal yesterday. AGI, the theory is AI would win by producing artificial general intelligence. What if AI wins by just taking over your entire life? All right, they don't have to create AGI if they can poison your mind with pornography, and they can poison your mind with, I'm sure you can be able to game in ChatGPT. And by the way, the best part is, you already know where this is going. ChatGPT has already said they're floating the ability to put ads in the feed. So while you're designing your
our society devalues education, basically. He's not wrong. We do. We've been doing it for years, saying like college is useless, go to trade school and stuff like that. Like we just have, we devalue education and we devalue expertise. But like he framed it in like the worst way possible, where he's just like, they worship the jock and not the nerd that doesn't get the girl every time. Like where it's just like, it just seems like his like sexual frustration is coming out, and it's not like a, like, yeah, you're kind of right, but like this is, you're not going about it the right way. The wording. He's like, they're just going to use sexual deviancy and perversion to like capture the minds. Like, no, that's not really what's happening, but like overall, you're right.
Perfect girlfriend who will talk to you and who you will continue to stare at. You'll just get a few ads.
An ad read.
Here or there.
The girlfriend does
one
the
or
ad
two,
read.
yeah, you know. Yeah. And soon there's gonna even be an AI robot or some sort of like device or something like that, which you can use to enact more of your AI fantasy out on. I mean, this is out of a movie, but it's not, this is real life. Like this is actually happening. I cannot think of a single, like, what really gets me, I don't see a single lawmaker doing anything about this. I don't see a single lawmaker even reacting to this proud announcement. We're doing porn. We're doing
such
porn.
a layup too.
Yeah. No, how about no? How about actually no?
We're not, you're not actually doing
it's
this.
not happening.
Yeah.
It's actually not happening. And I love how they frame it as like treat adults like adults. I'm like, well, how was that worked out with all of these other extractive industries, porn, weed, video games, all these other things. I genuinely, this is the stuff that makes me turn into like a conspiracy theorist. I'm like, maybe this is part of the plan, man. This is the plan. I can't think of another thing that would be better designed to neuter the entire country and to make you as addicted as humanly possible. Soon there's gonna be gambling in there. You know, it's gonna be like a video game, literally. Your entire life is gonna be Ready Player One, and you're gonna be living in a fucking trailer. And Sam Altman's apparently drives like a multi-million-dollar car, and he's gonna be rolling around with children's blood being,
with a non-profit salary.
Yeah, non-profit salary, rolling around as a multi-billionaire, getting transfusions of, blood to live to the age 250. That's what's gonna happen.
And then on top of that, it destroys critical thinking skills.
Of course.
There's plenty of studies, plus your own intuition. If you drove around this world before Waze and Google Maps, you had a better sense of direction. You could get around better.
No, this is true. See,
and
this is a real problem.
Studies
that I
are
have, which
definitive
is that, like,
on this
well,
question.
First of all, no,
that once
this isn't necessarily true. I have a pretty good orientation in general just from playing games, I think. But that's beyond the point, which is that, like, yes, with the advent of cell phones and smartphones, especially too, and you started to outsource a lot of kind of your memory to their phone. Like I used to know all my friends' phone numbers, everybody's number, like, and so it's hard to draw that line of like how much of that outsourcing is acceptable, because like you could definitely make the oh yeah, maybe it'd be better for human memory if we didn't outsource like all these things to phones and stuff. Though people used to remember things much better. Like you can make those arguments, but there is like kind of like a weird line where it becomes like when you're interacting with like a Chinese room. It's a Chinese room, an LLM, something that doesn't actually really understand what it's saying. It's different than like Wikipedia links, like, or Wikipedia is untrustworthy because anyone can edit it, because like it's like a different kind of misinformation where the program doesn't actually necessarily know what it's saying. Like, you can be like, is 50% bigger than 42%? And it'll be like, no. Like, if you're like, oh, okay, so does 42% high fructose corn syrup, right? 42% fructose, high fructose corn syrup have like a higher fructose content than 52%. Or than sucrose, right? Let's say that. And it'll be like, no, because fructose, like, it's high fructose, so it has more fructose. And you'll be like, well, no, it doesn't. That's not how it works. Sucrose is 50-50. This is 42 fructose, so it has less. It does. This is a real result I've gotten. And this is different than, like, typical misinformation, because it literally just doesn't have any idea what it's saying. It just doesn't understand. It is just following like syntactical rules to give things that kind of seem like human responses. The Chinese room, it's a Searle. Just look at
it. People start using this assisted driving, like, you know, you can go left here, go right here. Your sense of direction diminishes overall. The exact same thing is going to happen to your general ability to think. The more you outsource the work of thinking to these chatbots, the less you're going to be able to think. So on the one hand, we've been wondering, when is this, superhuman AI going to become smarter, than average people? Actually, maybe it doesn't have to, because we're just going to keep getting stupider and stupider. Like, we're making it easier for them to win the race because we're going backwards. I'm trying to think what in a show where we should be having like both sides here, like what's the case?
The case is the same libertarian case. Well, frankly, no offense, Ryan, it's the same case you've been making about drugs. Is let people do what they want. All right, people are adults.
But that's only the case, as a libertarian would say. Your like right to swing your arm ends at my nose. And if this is driving up everybody's energy costs, it's going to create rolling blackouts.
Yes.
And then when I say, well, it's going to destroy everybody's life, it goes back to
that's my thing about drugs. Everyone's like, oh, I have a right to do what I want. Really? You have the right to drive high on weed? You have the right to shoot heroin in the street?
Okay. It needs to be heavily regulated.
Yeah, but it all ends at legalized weed. And then after that, the conversation ends, right? And it turns out, Ohio new study shows that 40% of all car crashes involved excessive amounts of THC in the system to cause impairment. 40% of fatal car crashes had people with excessive amounts of THC to cause impairment. And you know what most of the replies I got to that is I drive fine high on weed. Allow my tangent.
A lot of people drive fine.
Does anybody defend drunk driving? Even the drunks, nobody has the balls to say, actually, maybe in the 90s they used to, but in the age of Uber, nobody has the balls to say, actually, I'm a good drunk driver. I proudly drive drunk. It's only weed is the only drug where people are like, what's the issue? The only thing you're going to see is people slowing down at a red light. Well, it didn't work out for the 40% of people who died in a failed car crash, did it? Okay? And so this is the same thing, and I'm glad you made that point. The socialized cost of degenerate behavior is one that all of us have to deal with. When we allow mass sports betting, we are de facto creating a financial system which screws over all of us through credit markets, through credit, everything, right? Also, the amount of social services needed to deal with the rise of gambling addicts, the amount of domestic violence, the highest suicide rate of literally any addiction that's out there. That's drugs, that's gambling, video games. That's another one we talk a lot about with the Discord or TikTok addiction, critical thinking. I mean, what is the mass social cost of an entire generation that loses the ability to critically think and to hold an attention span for more than 10 minutes? And now you add AI pornography. And so, I mean, anyone can imagine. Ryan, you and I have been 13, 14 years old before. Probably were social alcohol. I could speak for myself. I don't know about anybody involved in this job probably was at some point of that. What if this AI shit was around then? Talk to me as a friend. I'm having trouble at school. Listen, it's tough. But part of it is it forces you to actually be like, okay, well, I got to figure this out. Got to live my life. But this gives you an exit option.
Everyone in middle school struggles.
Right. Exactly. everyone.
You're developing into your personhood.
Of course,
Yeah.
and it can take a long time, right? And this is no shot at anybody who is out there, but I'm saying, hey, maybe a little bit of friction that forces you to actually socialize or go do something, figure out who you are, that's probably a good thing. But this is the exit option. And I mean, the internet already kind of was that way, the Gen 1 internet, but this is taking it to a whole new level. And I think that's what's so scary about it. And so that's just the social cost. I don't know. If you're a parent out there, please keep your kids away from this stuff. Please. Like I that's all we can say, because the politicians, the regulators, they're doing nothing about it. There is a phone-free movement right now with schools, which I think is amazing. I know Denmark is looking at banning phones in school, but for every Denmark, there's, I don't know, there's so many school administrators and others, and they're just like, oh yeah, it's just the fact of life, and parents defend it. I don't know. I mean, read the Jonathan Haidt book and do what you can. I don't know what else to say. But it's hard to swim against the tide. It's very hard in a world where something like 50% of people, 50% of children, I think it's like under age of 12, have access to an iPad, like their own iPad. Not good.
Yeah, because the libertarian argument I get, it's a thing that's been around, but I don't actually understand how that argument leads you to conclude that actually it'll also be good for us.
Yes, that's right.
I get that, okay, you just love freedom no matter what the costs. I'm trying to think of any possible way that
AI porn
that unleashing AI porn on top of all the gambling that we've got going on, everything else, reducing the amount of power supply that we have at the same time, jacking up everybody's electricity bills. How that leads to a better country.
Well, let's double click even more on the energy risk. So let's put this up here on the screen. There's a study after study, and all this stuff is starting to come out. And actually, credit, some mainstream media people are actually waking up. So for example, they highlight this more recent case. Google recently courted the township of Franklin, Indiana, where it would construct a giant campus to house computer hardware that powers its business. But the company needed to rezone 450 acres of Indianapolis suburb. Residents, quote, were not having it, mainly because they thought the facility would consume huge amounts of water and electricity while delivering few local benefits. A lawyer representing Google confirmed at a September meeting the company was pulling its data center proposal, and cheers erupted from sign-waving residents. This is now a trend which is happening across the country, and almost all of it comes back to electricity, because what they point to exactly is that the computing power, a typical AI data center uses as much electricity as 100,000 households. The largest data center under development will consume 2 million households worth of electricity. That's according to the International Energy Agency. They, quote, also suck up billions of gallons of water for systems to keep all of that computer hardware cool. Then you also have McKinsey out with a new study. Can we put C4, please, up there on the screen? Here is the same thing. There's actually this new McKinsey study which looks specifically at driving power demand across the country, and they cite the exact same statistics where they look. What they do is they look through the growing amount of power demand forecasted relative to data center, and they find the exact same thing, that across the nation, the single most driving force of power usage will all come from data center construction across the nation. Now, to split the difference here, you have two options. One of the reasons why there's no controversy over data centers in China is they have a shit ton of electricity. So that would be great. I would love to live in that country.
People are not going to complain if they're
nobody. If the power bill is low, no one cares. That's the ideal.
They don't even block the view.
Whatever. All right. Yeah. Build them in the middle of nowhere. Go for it. Everybody's got no power. As long as you're not stealing anybody's land, we're cool. Here's the issue, as you just described, with the Build Back, or whatever, the OBBB, not only cutting solar and wind, which, look, I have a lot of problems with solar and wind, but if you're not going to back it up with new oil refineries, new LNG plants, new nuclear power reactors, then the interim state is where we are right now, where everybody just has to pay more, okay? And it's still gonna take a decade or so to get there. So the data center construction is gonna go like this, whereas the new power demand is basically flat and eventually goes up a little bit in 10 years. What's gonna happen 10 years from now? So then the other is what we have proposed here. It's like, okay, you wanna build it? Fine. You have to prove to the county, to the state, and everyone that you are not only going to have enough power that you're going to build to supply yourself because the profits are so great, right? And you're already investing all these billions, then you're going to have to do that. In my opinion, you also have to be able to supply the rest of the grid to make sure that not only you're powering yourself, you're also helping out the community and providing some set benefits. But instead, what's happening is like Virginia and the rest of these state localities, they get fooled into, oh, there's going to be some jobs. What jobs? Few jobs? The vast majority of the profit is going to Silicon Valley into Google stock. Maybe you get to clean the data center as a janitor.
Right.
Okay. That's basically where we are. So
yeah,
I'm worried about it. Ryan. I think it could be one of the central political issues of our time. And the White House doesn't care. No state and local politician has come out with a forceful demand yet. And I just don't get it. I'm like, why are you people so asleep at the wheel?
And I think it also stands in for
Am I crazy?
who governs us.
Yes,
Do we govern ourselves? Are we a democracy that wants to chart our own course? Or are we just governed by these AI overlords? And they just tell us what we have to eat and how much we have to pay to eat it?
I think we know the answer to that, at least now currently. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show, ad-free, and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com. Let's get to the Pentagon so that you and I can go off on this one. This has been driving me crazy. And Ryan, you and I both have experience.
Yeah, it's good to be joined by an actual former Pentagon correspondent here.
Thank you. Former Pentagon correspondent. One of my proudest moments, my first actual reporting job. So
as I mentioned earlier, this has been a week of all just completely bleak and dystopian news. Chief among that being what's going on in the Gaza Strip right now, just the wholesale massacre of protesters by the IDF. I think we should let you know that we are going to have another episode about this topic, speaking with a guest who can speak more deeply and intelligently and from experience about this thing, because I think it's an issue that warrants a deeper dive. We'll limit ourselves this week to, I think, discussing some of the media reaction to this has been really stunning, and it really goes to show you just how into overdrive the propaganda arm of like the Israeli government and Israeli lobby in America is to like not just apologize or cover up this or shove it to the side, but like I think we are seeing a transition now where the official organs of like I said, Israeli propaganda in America are just openly embracing this now.
Senator Chuck Schumer, welcome to the resistance.
Openly embracing, and the New York Times is as good as any, a bellwether, like the crown jewel of the liberal media.
Damn it.
And in their actual opinion section, the range of opinion on this massacre runs the gamut from Thomas Friedman saying it's an act of human sacrifice on behalf of the Palestinians to Barry Weiss saying the exact same thing. She went on Bill Maher's show on Friday and said, all these Palestinians, they timed this, fence protest.
They timed being murdered.
They timed being murdered, including doctors and women and children, timed this to the photo op of the Israeli embassy.
How dare they?
The American embassy.
How dare you make Jared Kushner look bad?
She said just so they could have the split screen of Ivanka smiling, contrasted with men, women, and children being shot with high-powered rifles from hunting blinds by the IDF. And what she said on that show on Friday was, let's not give them what they want. So her argument is these crafty Palestinians timed their protests to make Israel look bad. So the way we beat them is to just not feel bad at all about, like I said, wholesale mass murder.
It's basically the Sharpeville massacre of the 21st century. But don't fall for it.
Yeah, don't fall for it. And here's the other thing, like the idea that somehow they're cheating because they timed their protests to make it more politically effective. Ooh, how dare they?
They're playoff protesters. Yeah, Israel's actions in Gaza in the last, say, like, since 2000.
Since Cast Lead?
God fucking
Well,
damn it.
since Lebanon,
Okay.
really. It's been like, since their humiliation in the hands of Hezbollah has been,
I really need
okay, we need to do a military demo to show our awesome destructive might
Shrinking,
against
okay.
people who are pretty much helpless. But I think the other part of that has been, let's
See what that one
up
is?
the ante of what we can get away with.
Yeah, right.
And the reaction to this in particular, because, you know, there has been a big liberal reaction of like, this is awful, this is blah, 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 which, again, I hate to be a pessimist. Like, I remember
Even
this
if it
type
makes
of
his
shit
door a
under
little
Bush.
smaller, that might be
This is the type of thing where the liberal quarters, they notice something that is bad under a Republican president, and you think it's a sea change, and then they
Right,
go back to
right.
conveniently not noticing it. I hope I'm fucking wrong. But, in the liberal quarters, yeah, there's been that. But I feel like with the reliably pro-Israel, more like American Likudnik set, it's been, okay, we're up in the ante to this. Yeah, okay. Full steam ahead. Let's go.
I'm just shocked that I'm on a show with these bros who are violating Barry Weiss's free speech right now.
Speaking of, like Felix, as you said, like pushing the limits, or like I said, that they're now, I think I'm noticing a shift in just the open embrace of this kind of murder and violence. The last point I want to make on this, and like, to be serious for a second, the other thing, the media response in terms of like the moral nihilism or just pure nihilism that's on display here is
Please don't carry me across
Thomas
the
Friedman
phones.
said it, Shmuel said it. I'm not going to read the rest of his monstrous article, but this sort of hand wringing over how could they do this to themselves?
It's about the best,
It's human sacrifice.
outcome
That
I
they're
could have hoped for, to be
Thomas
honest.
Friedman said they're throwing the
Apart
flower
from
of their
moving
youth
straight
away
to the
rather
thing
than,
that
I
I'm
don't
trying to
know,
get to.
teaching them to code or some bullshit like that.
Rather than having them
what I
die
wanna
of
say about
fucking
that-
giardia in open sewers
What
created
I
by
want to
Israel.
say about that is, again, the fact that these people can't fathom the idea that that you would give your life for
Yeah.
something bigger than yourself is
Yeah.
very telling.
Yeah.
And I think that the people, the men and women and doctors who were blown away because they approached a fence or threw a rock did that knowing that they were facing death, and they did it anyway. And I think that is the word for that is heroism.
It speaks to two things.
Oh,
It
no
speaks to
question.
their heroism, a heroism that to borrow a term from my hated Pepe villains, small-souled. You can't imagine that kind of sacrifice. But also, it speaks to the horror that Israel's created in Gaza. That living is no longer preferable if you can't live on your own terms.
Well, in any
and
other-
you're willing to fucking die for
in
it.
any other context, like especially in American culture, we love the idea, like the phrase "better to die on your feet."
Yes,
than live like a
exactly.
slave."
Right.
That's exactly
We-
what
like,
we're seeing
in,
here.
in our like we talked about this in the thing about how the last episode about how America turns Goliath into David,
Right.
And we have so many stories about Americans who are willing to do anything for their freedom, but when we see it happening somewhere else, it's clearly some sort of perverse death drive and cult created by some awful Hamas government or by the wickedness of Islam, and not people in an untenable, horrible, torturous, nightmarish existence created by our ally in Israel,
either
who
way,
are willing to do anything to try to stop it.
Oh my god,
And
man.
two things I want to
I'll
say
tell you
before we
what,
move
I am
on.
definitely not
Speaking
lucky.
of the doctors
That's for sure.
who went there, the medical staff, one of the medical staff who went there, a number of whom were shot, one of whom was killed, who went there to provide aid for the people who went on the march to the
All right, keep
not
going.
the fucking border, to the fucking fence, is a Canadian doctor named Tarek Lubani, who was shot in the leg and I believe is still recovering. And according to a friend of his who messaged me, is a fan of this show. And I wanted to say, and he asked if we could shout him out, and I say absolutely. And I think that you want to talk about heroism, this is a person who is an absolute example of fucking heroism, and we should all thank him for his literal that's actual service.
And another point I'd like to make on that, the IDF, when these things started, had a tweet that they hastily deleted where they said, "We know where every one of these bullets went.
Yep.
And all the shots are precise. They're firing, snipers are firing these shots. They know exactly who they're pulling the trigger on. These people are clearly designated as doctors.
Yes.
Or
they have large symbol. The
Same with
Red Cross. They have
journalists,
every
and
indication that they are medical.
There is no
and the press
conclusion-
people too that they've.
There
shot.
is no conclusion other than they are intentionally targeting doctors and the press.
Yes.
Well, many people point this out, but there were all those tweets of American hand wringers being like, "Oh, it's tough out there. It's all a blur. Sometimes they don't know who they're hitting." And the classic two tweets next to each other response is all those versus that tweet of the IDF spokesperson going, "We know where every bullet landed. There were no mistakes. We come prepared. We know what we're going to do each time."
Is there anything that they can do to resist that?
No,
You won't.
because BDS isn't good either. BDS is an act
That's
of
also
war.
violence.
BDS is violence and anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
There is literally
also
nothing.
illegal in many jurisdictions.
There is and they want to increase that. They want to make it an illegal thing to participate in BDS.
Are you a college professor and you said a nice thing about Palestinians? Sorry, you're fired.
Yeah, you're
Try
fired.
doing business in any Southern American state. You literally have to sign a checkbox with the state saying that your business will never boycott.
Might not just turn her away.
Oh, I just do that to
Literally
just
just
do that.
running.
But yeah, no. But what we've learned,
It's called coordination.
because during the second Intifada, while they were mowing down Palestinians and crying the whole time, the Israeli answer is, "Well, where's the Mandela?
Yeah.
Where is the peaceful?"
You just ran them over.
And there is no fucking peaceful protest that would be acceptable because this is not a thing that's negotiable.
Right.
Because the ethno-state isn't negotiable.
Right.
And that is where we are. And I wanted to end this because I think we want to move on to talk about the MS-13 and the domestic parameters of this panic about borders and control and
Get to the
and
fun part of the
contamination. Is that after Operation Barbarossa began, Heinrich Himmler gave a speech to a Waffen-SS battalion. And the quote that he said was, "It is a time of iron, and we must sweep with iron brooms." And I want to ask anybody who thinks of themselves
Timothy in the
as
center.
in solidarity with Israel or with America in
big
its
deal.
battle against these phantom terrorists or
It didn't take me
MS-13
into
or
the
anything,
center.
anybody who wants to protect the West,
I hate
you
this game.
disagree with that idea?
Right.
And they don't. That is the presiding ideology of the West, quote unquote, that these people are trying to defend. The presiding ideology is the Nazi concept of complete domination and extermination or defeat. That is what we're living in.
Matt, it's like what you said before. It's all the things we're discussing link up because there are ways to eject someone from not just polite society, from human
Humanity.
rights, from human
from
rights,
having a
because
right to
they're
anything.
not a citizen, or they're a gang member, or they're a felon, or they're a Palestinian terrorist. And it's like, well, the rules don't apply to them. Sorry. Just finding creative ways to make that tent bigger,
Yes.
and then saying, "Go hog wild," and that's
Yeah.
what happens here. It's what happens there.
We are in a situation where all of the brightest fucking minds of the media in the quote unquote first world are creating ways to make unpeople
Yes.
whose death won't trouble the masses.
Right.
Whose massacre and whose transportation and whose illegal
Detention,
arrest and
yeah.
detention will not trouble
Risky.
the mass of people. And the way to do that is to take them outside of the generally conceived of notion of a human being with human rights. And that is why these fucking hair-splitting scumbags trying to, well, actually Trump's obvious fucking dog whistle Nazism about animals are doing the work. They are indistinguishable from the fucking Julius Strikers and Alfred Rosenbergs of the 21st century. They are doing the work of the people who want to create new categories of unpeople to be disappeared and eliminated
Okay,
and destroyed
finally.
without
Like,
anybody batting an
How
eyelash.
many of these have I done? Like
And that
six?
because if you really think that
Give me
that
any of
fucking
those.
precious
Any of these, I
distinction
think.
that you want to fucking
I
point
have a
out
lot
on
of-
Twitter between the MS-13 and, well, he
This is
didn't
fine, yeah.
specifically refer to all, but who is being arrested? We know who's being arrested
You
in
can only
these
get,
fucking ICE crackdowns. We're
anyway.
dragging dads out of fucking hospital wards where their kids are being treated. We know who is going to fucking into these ICE
Oh
detentions.
my god.
Pregnant women, fucking people who've been in
Finally.
America for
Oh my
fucking
God.
decades without any kind of brush with the law. We know that's what's
Thank
happening.
you.
We see it every
Jesus
fucking day.
Christ.
And
Okay,
they
let's
want to
see if
say,
he-
well, when
he'll
he says
take this.
animals, he's not referring to them.
Even though it
And
has,
yet,
like, $1 million
those people are
effects.
getting the same fucking treatment as these MS-13 quote-unquote animals.
Yep.
So what is the distinction meaningfully?
Yep.
And there is no meaningful distinction.
Yep.
And that is why it matters. And that is why anyone who wants to fucking parse this shit is doing the
Awesome.
job
Okay.
of the future genocidaires.
Yep.
The
Go shrink your door.
future Rwandan hate radio people who want to fucking cut down the tall trees and smash the fucking cockroaches.
By the way, look forward to Barry Weiss's tour of colleges coming up next year. Cut the tall trees 2019. So
you will pay very much.
Okay. I want to talk now about the conservative media's reaction to
Maybe
this. Because honestly, for someone like me who is a connoisseur of this stuff, this has been like a fucking all-star week. Because here's the thing. These people don't think like normal people, and they can't help but tell on themselves. This is my favorite kind of conservative media reaction, where they think what they're saying to the audience is common sense, but it's actually morally depraved and horrifying. Let's begin with friend of the show and new favorite, Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss, a.k.a. Stav, thinks he looks slick in that wig.
It's true, folks.
Who have I told not to come here?
Barry Weiss said on television last night,
Stop coming. This guy just keeps
other
coming,
than this instance, Brett Kavanaugh has a reputation as being a prince of a man.
Eat any flowers?
Okay, but which prince?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
some of them taxidermy humans.
Prince Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah. Brett is a yellow king of a man.
She went on to say, this is the real nut here.
Lots of that.
What about the deeper moral, cultural, ethical question here? Should the fact that a 17-year-old, presumably very drunk kid, did this, should this be disqualifying? Come on, Barry. Yeah, should this really be disqualifying? I mean, come on, it's not like he was a Palestinian 17-year-old walking towards a fence or waving a flag.
Well, Barry just has a different opinion on our 17-year-olds versus theirs because theirs can't drink. And so it doesn't,
How do you measure adulthood if that's not...
By the way, they're responsible for their actions, unlike American drunk teenagers.
By the way, the New York Times has now shipped Barry Weiss off to Australia like a 19th century British convict. And all I gotta say is I really hope she's careful and doesn't get stung by a swarm of box jellyfish. Barry, please be careful if you're on the beach.
He's gonna find a racist marsupial and induct it into the intellectual dark web.
What's so called Australians, and that's rude, Felix. They don't like it when you call them that.
What's so infuriating about that is that she's saying, hey, he did it at 17. How does that reflect on him as an adult? By the way, I'm just going to decide that 17-year-olds shouldn't have their lives determined by their income or their actions, which means, abolishing all juvenile sentencing for anything or any, court memory of your thing. Or, by the way, the SAT meaning anything. Because she says, what you do at 17, you shouldn't decide whether you can be on the Supreme Court. If you get a bad SAT score, at 17, you can't be on the Supreme Court. Literally. But she says, you can't judge someone, but what is he doing now? He's denying something he did. He's lying. He's telling somebody, he's saying that somebody who's making an actual cry of what they did is a liar, and they're not admitting they did anything. There's no penance. There's no growth. There's just continuing it on at 53 of continuing to fucking lie about it.
I like how some people clearly didn't get the call, so they didn't coordinate. So half of the team are on, this is a lie, it never happened, and the other half are on, so what if it did? Because they weren't on the same email. And
Help me out here. Barry Weiss's sister wrote an op-ed where she was mad about a college application.
Yes.
What, can you run that by me?
Okay, no. Barry Weiss's sister wrote an op-ed, anti-affirmative action op-ed about how she didn't get into her top choice school because she wasn't Native American or she didn't check all the right ethno-demographic boxes. And the entire op-ed was her fucking whining that she had to go to, I don't know, Brown or something.
Oh, God, no.
Just deport me. Oh, my God.
I'd like to introduce the first topic of discussion thusly. Goodbye, Barry. I'm flying over you. Goodbye, Barry. And I was actually looking up the lyrics to that song, and they do actually sort of read like a Barry Weiss column, because they're like, you say all things pass into the night, and I say, hold on, sir. I must say you're wrong. And if I do that, I will be posting an open letter about all things passing into the night quite shortly.
So this is this year's, I would say, probably most consequential news story. I mean, like it's in terms of the earth-shattering events that have happened in 2020. Barry Weiss's self-cancellation from the New York Times, I would say, ranks above COVID, the presidential primary, George Floyd protests, and just so irresponsible and not covering the story more. How do you guys feel about this?
I feel like my life has changed. I used to rely on Barry Weiss to read articles in the New York Times that were iconoclastic, heterodoxical. Articles that said things like, why don't lefties like Israel? And, I went to another country and it was different than America. I don't know where I'll go to read this 7th grade quality writing anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's a hole, a berry-shaped hole in all of our hearts right now. I think it's pretty clear that she wasn't bullied out of the New York.
No, yeah, that's quite obvious.
There's also a whole bunch of people that stepped down at the same time to be like, this isn't a liberal, blah 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 blah, and it's oh, you're launching something with Sullivan,
Yeah, no, it's Andrew Sullivan, Ben Shapiro, and Barry all fucking resigned from their perches at once, and I'm sure are going to be working on what will become probably the most insufferable thing ever created by humanity. But yeah, I mean, it's just
I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait. Certainly to be gold. Sure to be gold. I guess it's just as far as the New York Times goes. I guess her defenders are I cannot believe the New York Times allowed this to happen. That they fostered an abusive workplace, and it's just well, all they did was, I don't know, hire her, promote her, and fucking pay her handsomely to just shit out the most, I feel said, the most, medium talent. I mean, that would be actually too complimentary to describe her as medium talent, fucking drivel imaginable. But what the one thing the New York Times couldn't do was get her coworkers to like her or not make fun of her. And I guess the specific social media policy that they created for her, where it was just hey, you can't fave tweets making fun of this broad if you're in the Times newsroom. And, it's a brilliant career move for her because she's going to parlay it into, I'm sure another successful venture for her, but, gets to make the New York Times look bad in the process, and also weaponize her identity in a very cloying and transparent way while she's going out the door and decrying other people doing the same.
Right. I mean, Barry Weiss is not particularly in comparison to other people on the Times masthead, she's hardly even ranks the most odious right winger. So the idea that she's just so much of a firebrand that she was getting bullied in this sort of notoriously collegial behind closed doors kind of world of legacy media publications. They might, be shitty to each other on Twitter, but I think that's largely a performance for us. I don't doubt that they didn't like her, but I think it had mostly to do with the fact that she's a dum-dum.
She's a dumb baby. She's a very dumb baby.
She's a dumb little roly-poly baby, and she types out her little dum-dum takes with her little ravioli hands. And she's not Brett Stevens. I mean, there's so many more evil people on there. So it's she's kind of grasping for some kind of iconoclast label that she doesn't quite have the intelligence to even achieve.
I mean, and okay, why don't I just dip into her resignation letter? Like I said, this is future generations will recount this like the Magna Carta, basically. So she just says here, Twitter is not on the masthead of the New York Times, but Twitter has become its ultimate editor. As the ethics and mores of that platform have become those of the paper itself has increasingly become a kind of performance space. Stories are chosen and told in a way to satisfy the narrowest of audience rather than allow a curious public to read about the world and then draw their own conclusions. I was always taught that journalists were charged with writing the first rough draft of history. Now history is itself one more ephemeral thing molded to fit the needs of a predetermined narrative. And it's
is it that?
Yeah,
hasn't that always
that's
been
her job, though. Yeah,
that's always
yeah.
Is she saying that? That's dumb shit. But is it also history has literally always been politicized. Always. History is never. It's not just something happens and 5 years later everyone gets together and agrees on the objective narrative for it. For when they teach about it. That's just That is the sign of a shitty thinker to say that.
She's talking about how the role of the journalist is to write the first draft of history, and it's like you're not a
She's
journalist.
not a journalist
You're a
either,
fucking
yeah.
you're a pundit. You're a commentator.
Right.
So your
Right.
role is to offer your opinion and then defend the boundaries of what you think is acceptable within the discourse. So. And this idea that
I need a
if you wanted to make a statement about the dire state of journalism today, you would talk with the fact of the media consolidation and just the mass layoffs which have led to the fact that there is basically no local media left in this country whatsoever. It's but the idea that it's never been harder to be a contrarian pundit in America is just so fucking nauseating. And what bothers me about this kind of shit is everyone wants to be a contrarian, but nobody wants to fucking really actually go. You know what I mean? It's this weird thing where people they want to be loved by the same people that they make a career out of winding up. And that's basically her complaint here. She goes on to write, "My own forays into wrongthink have made me the subject of constant bullying by my colleagues who disagree with my views."
Oh, you're 40 years old.
She wants to have her takes and eat them too.
Yeah, exactly. They have called me a Nazi and a racist. I have learned to brush off comments about how I'm writing about the Jews again. Several colleagues
Whoever said that. Whoever said that. You are the only funny person to ever work for that paper. Whoever just I mean, this didn't happen, let's be honest.
No, but it's not.
If someone went up to her and was like, "What's up, Barry? Writing about the Jews again?" You are literally the only funny New York Times employee ever.
Although I do think that
also you called me anti-Semitic.
I kind of want to ask this one next.
That's true. I mean, she calls everyone anti-Semitic. She literally built her career off of trying to cancel a Palestinian professor at Columbia, this guy Joseph Mossad, who's, yes, that is his actual last name.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. He's also a dum-dum too, but he's not politically indefensible, and they accused him of saying just extremely anti-Semitic stuff that he never said. I mean, she built
and
her
whole
career.
But her whole argument about that at Columbia was that I don't feel safe on campus because of this professor with his anti-Israel views. I mean, it couldn't be more perfect.
This gay Foucauldian Christian Palestinian who I believe is about 5'4". I'd feel very unsafe.
Literally, they invented the language that every person you think ruined Twitter, like the people who came from Tumblr when they banned porn. The first person to talk like them was Barry Weiss,
Wait, am I doing this
saying
right?
everything made her feel unsafe.
This is right?
Right.
She goes,
but I do think that there's something to I mean, again, she wasn't. I just don't think she was pushed out. I don't think she was bullied. There are so many worse people.
She was clearly waiting to get fired to be a martyr, and then they never bothered to fire her because nobody cared enough, and so she had to fire herself.
They forgot about her. She's
the paychecks just kept rolling
They
in.
sent her to Australia. That's how much they did not give a shit.
She's the Stephen Root character in Office Space. They just forgot, and she just keeps. We fixed the payroll problem, Barry.
I said I don't care if they lay me off either, because I told Bill that if they move my desk one more time, then I'm quitting. I'm going to quit.
No, but just finishing up here, this bleat about the hostile work environment she found herself in. She says, several colleagues perceived to be friendly with me were badgered by coworkers. My work and my character were openly demeaned on company-wide Slack channels where masthead editors regularly weigh in. There, some coworkers insist I need to be rooted out if this company is to be truly an inclusive one, while others post axe emojis next to my name.
Are you okay?
Oh man, white women hate having emojis sent to them. They really don't like it.
It is the most traumatic thing that could happen to them.
But I showed this to a few of you guys, and I realized in a sort of stoned epiphany that what the New York Times thought they were getting when they hired Barry was a kind of millennial wunderkind. You know, one of those 32-year-old wunderkinds or whatever. And they thought they were getting something sort of fresh and I don't know, millennial-y. And they didn't know that she was such a dum-dum. And they thought that they were going to sort of invigorate their readership with a quote-unquote younger voice, when in fact Barry is kind of the opposite of a prodigy in that she is a millennial with who has internalized every boomer idea that there is, which is why they like her. She's like this really strange person with like an old brain.
Oh, I need Swift.
Yeah, I was talking about this the other night. Like, someone pointed this out on Twitter, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it because of how true I think it is. It's like the other person that like whose career and life and personality most accurately mirrors that of Barry Weiss's is Pete Buttigieg.
I really don't want to mess this up.
Because they're both these kind of weird, like Vichy millennials who have been promoted in a fashion that like vastly out of whack with their actual talents or abilities. And, you know, I mean, like with, you know, Pete Buttigieg, I'm sure it was the CIA backing him up. But with Barry, it was this like, you know, quite influential network of pro-Israel lobbying groups and like sort of think tanks that she had a ready-made career to go at starting at Columbia when she fucking tried to get Joseph Mossad's scalp. And,
they
it's just like
she was going to be like, you know, Etsy Zionism. Like they thought that that's what they could bring with her.
No, but the same with Buttigieg is that like that they're popular in the right set of people because they are, you know, millennials who believe the exact or are willing to parrot the beliefs of like the dumbest, cruelest, richest assholes in this country.
And deeply
you know,
out of touch people.
You keep listening to the Alchemy book.
Yeah, like, but
I
think that they're
listen to the Alchemy book. Like,
popular and they're promoted
anything,
because I think that these people like to sort of put them on a pedestal as like, oh, like, you know, these are one of the sensible kids. They're not all, you know, like rude Twitter, you know, communists or whatever.
It's a very look. We have one too.
Yeah, but also I think they like telling themselves that like, you know, hey, like, hey, a lot of young people actually think like this too. So like, you know, when we die, that won't be it. We'll live on in some way.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a very strange thing because it's like, oh, they're trying to.
Even if
this
they,
is
didn't
like her and
outwardly
Buttigieg
claim
just
to
sort
be
of attempt
alchemists,
at youth window dressing these very like out of date ideas, and
how, like,
money must be
there was,
great,
like, a really
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like if you're willing to do that, like especially if you're young and conventionally attractive, like you will always eat. You will never miss a meal. You know, if you go down that path. But like, I guess like what's funny about the resignation letter, and certainly in light of this idea that, you know, oh my God, I was being bullied on Slack, which is like, you know, you're an adult, you're getting paid like well over 6 figures a year to just fart out an opinion column. I mean, even if it is true, I mean, this comes on the heels of just like the week before this happened, we all had to deal with just another round of the most interminable debate imaginable regarding that Harper's letter that she was a signatory to, which seemed to be arguing the exact opposite of what she says in this resignation letter, which is like, you know, oh, we need to like, you know, we need to be, you know, say, hey, toughen up, and you know, you have to. If you encounter like people or beliefs that you don't agree with or who don't agree with you or don't like you, like, hey, that's just part of the game. And, you know, we all need to, hey, come on, Buttercup. Like, let's get, you know, we're all in the game here. And then she seemed to, I mean, like this whole thing is like, oh, like I'm unsafe because nobody likes me at my job because of my asinine opinions.
Yeah, Barry wanted very badly to be canceled, but they just don't care enough. And so she had to do it herself. Okay. I'm interested to see what she comes out with next. That'll be a fun bit of that'll be a fun 6 months of content for us.
And you know, like as Felix said, like she's accused you personally of being anti-Semitic. I think like me as well. I forget at one point. Yeah, what'd she do with me? Oh, it's when I said I thought it was funny that Michael Kelly died in Iraq after spending months promoting it and loudly cheering for the war, and she was just like,
even if you just remove that from politics, it is hilarious.
I mean, the guy's like, woo, we're gonna do the war, that's awesome. Oh shit, is that a fucking Bridget Button? Oh damn.
Yeah. No, yeah, and he really ate it.
And you know, it's just like, this is what I hate so much about things like the letter, which is like, I don't really hate the letter itself, but I hate like the debate around it. It's like, it's impossible to talk about because it's just like, it's an issue that's just like it's a perfectly hermetically sealed loop. Like there's no way out of it. There's no even way to talk about it because it's essentially everybody is engaging in the exact same thing. And just pointing out the hypocrisy doesn't really do you any favors, because I think like if you scratch the surface, you'll find that you're basically doing the same thing. Like everybody has their own limits for what they think is like acceptable or reasonable in terms of a public debate about politics or whatever, and they're all trying to enforce their own borders on it. And this whole thing about, free speech. I mean, like you can apply it equally to the left and right, but institutionally, in terms of like the media, academia, and like the business world, like it's only ever applied
more stones. I
to
need
the
the
left.
dwarf to come by.
It's only ever just like a stalking horse to like how can we sneak in a few more right wing views into polite society, because like the problem that right wingers find themselves in is that like they feel straitjacketed because their beliefs are so grotesque that polite society shuns them, and like for instance like any of Barry's views on Israel or whatever. I mean, like if you find yourself on the outs of those, she will cancel you in a fucking second, as she's tried to do multiple times to us and her former college professor.
Since literally since college, it's been her entire thing.
Well, yeah, this is why the cancel debate is uniquely awful and brain rotting, and just it gives you, if you read into it enough, if you spend enough time on it, it gives you the feeling of having filled up on bread.
Yeah,
you just feel like a vague poisoning, because it's clear that everyone has a completely different definition of it based on what their politics are. I mean, that's true of a lot of things, but it's especially true of this. B, there are maybe like 5 people who will write like the annoying article that's like, it exists and I like it, just to get like 20,000 clicks, whatever, to keep your online publication circulating for another month. But it's broadly unpopular enough as an idea that even people who are like vaguely for it will pretend that it doesn't exist.
This is why you're right about Biden, Felix, is that he could just win by just being like, by the way, that shit will be over.
Well, that is how Biden's gonna win, because like his response to this is come on, man. Like, did you see what the RNC's trying to get him with, like him wearing a Redskins hat in like 1978?
Yeah.
No, with his dead
he
son.
does not remember that. He
Yeah.
doesn't remember any of this. He doesn't know what any of this is. And that's like, it's not that most Americans are like Dennis Leary and are like, like, it's just like most people don't know or don't give a shit about any of this.
PC, NPC, APC, freaking up and down D&D.
Yeah. APC, I thought we were talking about a type of jeans there, you pussy.
It's insofar as people are like, I don't know. Andrew Dice Clay. Like
in that it's like most people have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah,
like
you sound stupid and insane.
You're right. It just the volume of media you would have to consume to even understand, like, I don't know, the fucking Allison Roman thing is insane. Like it's so much. And that it's not to say again that people are anti-PC words. It's just that they think what I do, which is, who gives a shit? Who fucking cares?
No,
but I mean, I don't know. My personal theory is that we have a flare-up of this every 3 years. We have it every 3 years because every 3 years you get like sort of a organic or mostly organic social movement that is like a very apt response to legitimate grievances. But because this is like a fucked up, shitty country, all that gets channeled through our media consumption. So what started out as like encouraging and good, by month 2, it's like, we've decided that there's going to be a fucking there's going to be a half Sephardi, half Ashkenazi Marvel character. We need to do that. We here at Ann Taylor Loft are apologizing for selling harem pants. Just bullshit. It's like whatever. Things from like pedophiles that own slaves that are just sort of like basking in the cultural moment.
And by month 3, they just start eating each other.
Mm-hmm. But then because most people, it's not that they're like strictly anti, they just don't give a shit. There's a disorganized but very big backlash to it. And then like a year later, everyone pretends that they weren't like trying to get middle schoolers fired from 7th grade for like saying the N-word on Snapchat.
I don't need that yet.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the wonderful thing, is that like when when this was happening, and like I don't know, like right when Twitter had like a woke onslaught,
I never really paid attention.
I
to
remember people sort of tracking their behavior, and it's like reading like Vivian Gornick's The Romance of American Communism, where they're all like, I don't know what came over me. I don't know why I attended the trial and testified against my own mother.
Yeah.
But you get very few of those people. Mostly they're people who act like it never happened.
Right. Or that
I did get a few apologies once, though, and I was like,
I remember that.
It's fine. But it is weird. It's more frustrating that they don't acknowledge having participated in it, because it's like, come on, man, you went a little crazy there, buddy. You got the pitchforks and everything.
Yeah, just I mean, like, and I hate it because it's one of these debates or controversies that is just like, it's like a black hole. If you cross like the gravitational terminator, like you will just be sucked into it, and like every atom in your body will be annihilated by it. Like, so the only way to just not engage. And Felix, I think you summed it up exactly right when you said that, like, you know, the people on the fucking letter and the people defending it as like a brave act of conscience are all people who have either frequent flyers on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, have never had a job anywhere other than like the Center for Israeli Settlements, and like, they've just been cosseted in this world, like completely free of competition or criticism their entire life. And then all the people like angrily condemning it are like, they just want Nanette. They just want Nanette on like everything on TV, the internet, and culture is just Hannah Gadsby. That's it. That's what they want.
Well, that's like why. I don't know. I've decided.
Noam Chomsky was on the letter. I mean, like,
yeah,
I think
but he's also
leftists
900 years old.
I know, but for leftists of like a certain generation, they're very aware that, like, I don't know, Norm Finkelstein was a pretty bad loss to cancel culture or whatever.
There we go.
I'm exaggerating. I'm speaking hyperbolically. I mean, like, No Smoke with Noam or our beautiful boy Matt Karp. You know, I mean, like, I think there are good reasons, especially if you have a left-wing point of view, especially in academia, to, you know, hold out the good fight for, you know, standards of sort of broad protections for free speech and political advocacy. Right, but it's just the way it's been filtered through, like, you know, you know, just like the debate over it. It's just like it's a lose-lose situation.
I will say this: like, the first people I saw canceled in America were canceled when right-wingers had more control over the culture, and they were canceled for things like, you know, showing tits at the Super Bowl by accident, or, you know, being against the Iraq War. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of cases of people being canceled for not being adequately pro-troop. Of course, that changed, and that changed as liberals sort of reasserted control over the culture after Obama. But it's like, you should recognize that it doesn't end well, and it's not often a good thing to begin with. That said, the people on that letter, a lot of them, I don't think they believe that. They clearly don't, because I've seen what they've done their whole fucking career. But I do agree with that original idea that people lefties especially, should be wary of that. But
I think too, it's I mean, it's about, like, it's, first of all, it's not a fight you want to leave to the right, because for the people who, I mean, I'm sorry, like, that should be our fight, like the defense of you know, transgression and things like that. But it's also just like, it speaks to kind of a helplessness, and I think that Felix brought it up as being cyclical. I think it's cyclical, but only like sort of incidentally. It really just happens when they realize they have no political power to do anything, and they can't look up. So they look side to side, and they try and purify their weak little ranks, and it's kind of an abdication to their own futility. It's like, well, we don't have the power to build anything good, but we do have the power to, like, I don't know,
tilt the bottle,
make the entire discourse miserable and insufferable, and direct everything, all of our attentions towards what amounts to dumb culture war bullshit.
I'm confused.
And completely, like, you know, like, somehow still sidestep conversations about civil rights or free speech or whatever.
I mean, I would just say, like, if, you know, like, the correct way to react to things like this, and you know, professional charlatans like Barry Weiss, who are, you know, trying to wind you up and be provocative, but then like when they get any stick for it, pretend to be like the world's, just nail themselves to a fucking cross or whatever. Just pretend to be the world's biggest martyr. Like, I mean, it's infuriating, but I mean, I think you really do need to hew to a don't get mad, get even kind of point of view with this, where it's just like, anytime that you invest these people, especially when you're in these sort of like media debates about jobs and platforms and things like that, anytime you invest in these charlatans, the idea that they are kind of like dangerous or need to be sort of contained or sort of cauterized away from the body politic. I mean, you're doing their work for them. And I just like the correct response is just, very rude and dismissive mockery of everything about these people, or just or ignoring them. I mean, I know that's hypocritical because we've made our bones making fun of these people, but I just think it's just these people want to be thought of by you as like dangerous iconoclastic thinkers, and I think if they were left on their own, just stark naked and like having to defend their ideas in a room full of people who aren't otherwise engaged, you would realize how fucking utterly witless and fucking empty their point of view, what they have to say is.
You just can't like put too much stock in the power that media even has to do these things. I mean, like, we obviously had this really traitorous initial incident with the media over like the Iraq War. And so people are like, well, the Iraq War proved that the media has the power to shape policy and lie and miseducate. And I'm not going to say that's like completely untrue, but one of the reasons that it was also like swallowed and digested pretty cleanly by the American public was that the entire government, including a lot of the Democrats, also said there were weapons of mass destruction, also said that it was the right decision. So I just think we have overestimated the power that the media has to do absolutely anything. I mean, there are these ideas like the Overton window. I'm not going to say they don't exist.
I just hate that phrase so much. I hate that phrase so much.
They're way less significant than people think they are. And when these people are like, oh, I'm so dangerous, it's like, you're not dangerous. We're not dangerous. We're fucking podcasting and writing articles. That doesn't like direct politics. That's this weird, vulgar Gramscian kind of, we can manifest politics by, conversations. It's just the most that we can possibly do is clarify or articulate something that's already happening. The media isn't the architect of politics. They're the fucking running dogs of capital, or they're like dorks on a podcast.
But they're what people interact with, and so that's what they trick themselves into thinking matters, because it's what they feel like they can affect, and it gives the fantasy of any kind of control, which doesn't exist, and that's too terrifying to consider.
Right, but that's why they think, well, we can't, we have to make sure so-and-so gets cut out of a Marvel movie because, I don't know, he made a sexist joke on Twitter 4 years ago. And it's like, it's not just that there's nothing wrong with that joke, whatever the joke is, or there's nothing wrong with jokes. It's not just that you shouldn't be trying to find people and get rid of them through purity tests. It's also that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, no.
I mean, how many people who defend cancel culture shit also in the second breath say, oh, and it's never actually affected anybody? Well, then you shouldn't be wasting time on it.
Right.
You shouldn't be wasting a single moment of your life to do something that your own admission
for no reason
doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't actually do anything. Oh, so you're a loser with a creepy hobby?
Yeah.
And she does mention the resignation letter, like, Twitter is the ombudsman for the New York Times now, and to the extent that like any journalistic or cultural outlet or journal of thought or opinion finds itself chasing the week to week, moment to moment, fucking just what people are talking and saying on Twitter, that is, you're slitting your own throat in the long run. But I think the reason these people have such a fucking sort of pebble in their shoe about Twitter is that especially for people like Barry and a lot of the other people at the New York Times, it's like the first time in their life anyone's ever told them you suck, fuck you, fuck off, the idea they're always like, oh, Twitter is not the place for rational debate, and it's like, no, it's not, but it is a good place to just say fuck off to the most over promoted fucking just fevered egos out there, because like we said, it's like the Barry Pete Buttigieg thing is that they've just been pat on their fucking little heads their entire life and by older, richer, more powerful people, and then like when they find out that their peers or just anyone out there in a public forum is capable of just telling them to eat shit or sending them a rude gif or emoji, God forbid, then that's apocalyptic to them. So I mean, I just like overall, like, don't pay these people the respect of pretending that their hiring or firing is some kind of political victory or defeat for your cause, nor that like they have some personal power over you by how dangerous their thoughts and writing is, or how harmful it is. Like when it's
Barry Weiss has never once influenced a single piece of policy and never will.
Yeah,
like useless. But
I mean, I don't know
also, like, just have some distance when you look at this stuff. When you look at these publications, just like go into it completely, depersonalized and be like, oh, this is the squawk box of the liberal ruling class. We can sort of analyze some of their weird pathologies and sex perversions by reading their fucking op-ed columns, and it's funny. But most you can get is insight into their pathology and worldview. You're not going to like do anything with those platforms. That's not how newspapers work.
Yeah, and I guess my final thought on this is, hopefully this will be the last time we talk about her in a long time. I know Felix is.
She's coming back.
But I mean, like the joke ultimately is like you'd think like her resigning from the New York Times would mean that there would be less opportunity to hear about her cretinous thoughts or think about her, but the exact opposite is true. I've had to fucking think about her. We've had to fucking read about her like 100 times more in the past week than we were before. So there we go.
The only skill she has intellectually is to make people talk about her despite her being completely uninteresting and totally uninfluential.
Medium talent. I guess moving on, I mean, the continuing story of the week is Israel-Palestine, and I mean, it's just this shit is like it's hard to even talk about because of how like disgusting and madness-inducing it is, and like, but also it's just like the overwhelming expectation that like once again, like we're confronted by like the inhuman reality of the world we live in, and like what we have to do about it is just scream into the void of being online. And there's seemingly nothing you can do about it. But like, I mean, but on the other side of it, it's like you have the official Twitter account of the State of Israel being like, y'all, thanks for the messages. We're feeling sad last night, but all the DMs we got really got us through it. I mean, it's obscene and craven. And to that end, I thought we would dip back into the Barry Weiss canon, because she's come out with an article today that is world historically awful from her new perch at Substack, which I gotta say, I know they're making it like they're making a ton of money on Substack. And obviously, like I'm not one of these people like who's terrified of Substack, because it's like a new way for bad people to get published and get paid for it or whatever.
It's avoiding accountability.
What else is new?
I mean, yeah, the hand wringing about Substack is one of my least favorite genres of things right now.
Annoying.
Because at a certain point, you would just be like, well, why don't we got to just take the whole internet offline?
Fix that problem in a bit.
If that is your problem.
Yeah, it's like
the ability to be published without like a huge industrial process is basically at the point that you were talking about. It's very enraging.
And like if it didn't exist, all the people you hate would still be getting paid to share their asinine thoughts, or they'd just be doing it for free. Like it doesn't really make a difference. But I do wonder for people like Barry though, being in this more like cosseted environment on Substack, I think like, do you think it pisses her off that like, or like the people who court controversy, that like they're now in this sort of a more hermetically sealed sort of like gated community through which like it's harder to make people mad at you, which is sort of like kind of the point of doing all this?
I would have to imagine so, or at least there must be some kind of gnawing feeling of the loss of friction in some way that for everyone, I would say ourselves included in the take industry, is like part of the juice that you get out of it. Is
the action
people
is the
yell
juice.
at you and disagree with you.
The action is the
yeah,
juice.
exactly. And so now to be in this little garden where the only people there are people who have literally paid money to comment on your takes. I'm sure that there is a feeling of loss.
Well, I mean, let's help her out because this piece did revolt me, and now I'm going to read it on the show.
Let's see what happens.
The headline is "The Bad Optics of Fighting for Your Life. When it comes to Israel, memes have replaced morality." And I mean, I like that you could just like you could freeze that subhead without any other context, and it's basically true. Yes, for Israel, memes have replaced morality, in that they have
for
memes.
most people, memes have replaced reality.
Israel certainly has memes, but they definitely don't have morality.
It's an entire meme economy. We only participate in reality through the medium of memes, not through morality. What the fuck's that?
She begins here. I am writing to you from the waiting room of my fertility clinic. Getting pregnant when you are gay is not so romantic, so we try to do little things to make it nice. Last night I took a bath. We watched Mayor of Easttown. Nellie opened a bottle of red. Then she grabbed my stomach and gave me a shot to trigger ovulation. Isn't that sweet? I'm also watching Mayor of Easttown.
You go drink some ice water and watch Mayor of Easttown.
Daughter, I'm drinking a water with my daughter watching Mayor of Easttown.
See, now you guys are basically doing the SNL skit that, from last Saturday.
Yeah, because that's always fun. Although they really should have specified Eastern Pennsylvania because Western Pennsylvania has an entirely different accent.
Yeah.
Go downtown Pittsburgh, go see the Stillers.
Yeah, no, we need
a whole sketch that was basically like, what if a murder show was set in Pennsylvania?
Well, I mean, that's what you need. Like, I mean, all the Mayor of Easttown is such a copy of a copy of a copy. It's basically like an American version of Broadchurch. If you've ever seen that show, it's just like, ooh. I would just like, once to have a detective from a small town full of secrets investigating a crime whose life isn't falling apart and in fact is doing great. Like they just got married, got a new house, things are going wonderful for them. Their family likes them and are just they're nice and normal. But yeah, Mayor of Easttown is very, very paint by numbers. I mean, like I'm watching it, so I guess it's working in that regard. But not a great show in my opinion. So it says here, I plan to take the morning off. The doctor says that stress is not good for baby making.
Cool.
But sitting here scrolling through my phone, looking at the tsunami of lies that have permeated every Instagram story and viral meme and every TikTok video and every popular Twitter account, I am weeping. I mean, like, the absolute self-involvement of this, where, like, you begin talking about, like, I'm gay and it's hard to get pregnant, and I'm trying to get pregnant. My doctor says you can't look at TikTok because it'll fuck up your it'll fuck up your fertility cycle. But like you just have to do it. You have to confront the lies that are on every Instagram page you follow.
The amount of replies I've needed to send linking to relevant Wikipedia pages.
See, I'm weeping right now. I'm weeping. It appears that standing up for the right of innocent people to protect themselves from a genocidal terrorist organization has become extremely risky to one's brand, and so lies have replaced truth. Memes have replaced morality. Hashtags have replaced history. I am, of course, speaking about Israel. And again, like if you just like froze that paragraph bereft of any context or who's writing it, it basically stands up because I mean, like it is risky to talk about a genocidal terrorist organization exterminating humans' life and maintain one's brand in the media. And of course, I am talking about Israel. In the past 48 hours, according to the Israeli Defense Forces, more than 1,500 rockets have rained down on Israeli cities. Those rockets are being launched by Palestinian Islamic Jihad and by Hamas, which has controlled the Gaza Strip since Israel unilaterally withdrew from it and forcibly evacuated every last Jewish resident from the territory in 2005. Israelis have gotten used to living life in a kind of perpetual war. Again, like it's just like that statement right there. They've just gotten used to being in a state of perpetual war with the population that their existence depends on subjugating. So,
yeah,
I mean,
you kind of have to at some point get used to that if that's what you're committing to.
Exactly, and they have gotten totally used to it, and so has pretty much the rest of the world. Like I mean, for the most part, who
get the fuck out of here.
I mean, are probably not like thrilled by the idea of Israel doing what it does. But for the most part, doesn't care.
Yes, I do.
And by the way, like the existence and security of the only democracy in the Middle East, in quotation marks, depends on everyone getting used to this state of perpetual war. So Barry, I don't know what the fuck you're complaining about. It only serves your benefit. It only serves to benefit like the Zionist project if people just get numb to a state of perpetual war, which is what Zionism is.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that there is something about this moment where it really feels like everybody is just running their script. Like you watch Jen Psaki like interviews around this, you can like literally see her brain like open the file that says find Israel, run right to exist.exe, and then she just like blah 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 blah.
The president's support for Israel's security, for its legitimate right to defend itself, and its people is fundamental and will never waver. We condemn ongoing rocket attacks by Hamas and other terrorist groups, including against Jerusalem.
It feels, I mean, maybe it's just now such a long time of having heard these things over and over again, but this particular moment just feels like everybody has given up trying to put any kind of new or even compassionate script on it. It's like you already know what the answer is when you ask Jen Psaki what the Psaki, what the fuck is it?
Psaki?
Psaki.
It's Polish excellence, one way or the other.
What the Biden administration's answer to it. You could write the answer yourself, and she's not even going to pretend that you can't about that. And I feel like that's the same way about all these commentators. This Barry Weiss script,
or just like the general tenor of like having to talk about. I mean, like being faced with this issue again and again and again. It's just like the same algorithm gets run every single time. And if you're the U.S. State Department or the IDF, like you don't have to be particularly clever about any of this. You just run the script and continue to dominate, which is what like really matters. Like is their power to continue to do to kill people, without any accountability or anyone being, because like you have to run the gauntlet. If you're going to talk about Israel or even mention Palestine at all in the American media, you have to run the gauntlet. Like you have to go through the algorithm of like a labyrinth of like things, qualifiers and like statements you have to confront about Israel's right to exist, which is such a funny. It always comes back to this, like, are you trying to say Israel doesn't have a right to exist? Which
no, it doesn't.
No more or less than any other state.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's just like, and also like, does people have a right to exist? Like people, perhaps more profoundly than states do. But the point is, it's like this is not really a debatable issue. It's not really what's like on offer here. It's like Israel does exist.
That's the thing, is their right to exist is their ability to assert that right, which
exactly
the fact that we give them $3 billion a year and they have fucking secret nuclear weapons means it exists. There's nothing you can do to undermine that power reality.
Yeah, they're a nuclear armed state that is backed by the other most powerful nuclear armed state in the world, which allows them to continue to exist. But that existence is predicated on this state of perpetual war against a subjugated population that they have complete and total control over. Like that's what's at issue here.
But even just this right to exist conversation, which it's like, so every time you run the response algorithm, it's like another layer of the Terminator exoskin gets shedded off, and it becomes more and more bare. And I think that just today, when people are like finally speaking up, at least in the online discourse, about like what the fuck does right to exist even mean, is maybe like one of the first times, at least in my life, that's a phrase that I've heard about Israel my entire adult life, and this is one of the first times that people are really, really like, what the fuck are you talking about when you say that? What does that mean? What is this? And not just, in...
Well, I mean, it's not meant...
Thing, but it's thing across the board. And I think that is that sensation of the algorithmic response being run bare, and you can kind of see the gears grinding against each other.
And because you can see like the gears of like the mechanical skull here, I mean, like the point of the algorithm of all these things is not to like pose a moral or historical dilemma. It's to trap you in these cul-de-sacs to keep the conversation or the interview or the party being questioned here. It's to trap them in these little like culverts and like locks and dams to prevent them from like getting to what's really at issue here is like, Israel's conduct towards their like colonized, fucking occupied population, which they have, like I said, nuclear weapons and total control over a completely subjugated group of people who, I'm sorry, also have a right to exist and also have a right to resist their dispossession and themselves being killed by, like I said, a powerful nuclear weapon armed state. And I'm sorry if living in Israel means that you have to sometimes worry about a rocket landing in your backyard. But like, guess what? You've chosen to live there, and like the entire project for which you've like dedicated your life and identity to is dependent on that situation continuing to be ongoing indefinitely with no resolution. I mean, that's the point of all of this, and that's the point of the algorithm is to avoid ever getting to that point. So
right,
and also like, I'm sorry, this idea about Gaza and rockets, and that they're indiscriminately firing rockets at civilians. It's like, okay, I'm sure they are, but like, the rockets are what they have. So like, to me, that's making an argument to give Hamas a modern air force and anti-aircraft.
Absolutely. Let's get
like
them
if they had precision guided
munitions, so
if
that
they had precision laser guided munitions,
strategic target evaluations.
And by the way, the entire argument that the U.S. State Department makes for why we continue to give money and weapons to Saudi Arabia to help aid in their genocidal war in Yemen is that by doing so, it allows us to minimize casualties by providing them with the technology and support necessary to limit civilian casualties. So, I mean, that to me would be a good argument for why how about we start funding the Palestinian military to the tune of about a couple $2 billion a year, sell them the best that Raytheon and fucking all of our defense contractors have to offer. And yeah, then they could drop a fucking laser guided bomb like into the middle of, a military target. So what's going on here? Back to Barry. She says, on Tuesday, Nellie was on a call with a journalist in Tel Aviv who abruptly hung up because the sirens started wailing. A friend sent a photo of his mother crouched in a bomb shelter. All okay, he said. Friends across the country told me about huddling with their crying children in safe rooms. It's fine, they insisted, but living like this is not fine. It will never be fine to have children killed by terrorists whose explicit aim is to kill them. By the way, like, what is the death toll on these rockets being fired from Gaza? I'm sure they've killed a couple people, but it's like nowhere near.
Like 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's no. I mean, the IDF Air Force killed like probably 40 or 50 people in Gaza last night, and like they can say, of course, as America does when we kill innocent people with bombs. Like, look, it's if it happens, it's a tragedy, but our aim is not explicitly to kill innocent civilians. They just happen to be there. Well, I'm sorry, when you're shooting missiles and dropping bombs on a city, and Gaza is probably one of the most densely populated places on Earth, you are understanding that, like, by definition, you are going to be killing innocent women, men, women, and children. Like, so you can't tell me that, we didn't mean to do that, because you making the decision to attack militarily a captive population with no means of escape or resistance is, by definition, making the choice to kill innocent people and kill a hell of a lot more of them than, some vaguely defined terrorism or rocket attacks ever would or could. So it goes on. I'm gonna skip ahead for a minute. She says, why is all this happening? Let's leave aside the terrifying Arab-Jewish violence roiling cities and towns inside Israel's border. Okay, yeah, good. Let's leave that aside, Barry. Let's leave aside the fact that we all saw a guy get lynched on television last night.
The what you might call evening of shattered windows that the Israeli mobs were doing.
The big picture reason this is happening, and has been happening for decades, is that Hamas and Islamic Jihad are genocidal terrorist organizations that want to wipe Israel, a country the size of New Jersey that contains the largest Jewish community on Earth.
Oh, little tight. Oh, we're so scared. So little.
Off the map. That is their reason for being. Well, I mean, Israel's reason for being is doing the exact same thing to the people who were originally living there in 1948.
They don't even fucking joke. In Israel, they don't even mince words about it anymore. They have given up even the fig leaf and fiction of a two-state bullshit solution. They said we are in the process of fully dispossessing Palestinians completely.
I think Israelis have to take over, and they have to kick them away. It will be much better not to kill them, just to go back to Arab countries.
But it's really rightfully ours if you look at the history and at, like, the wars, and we didn't even start a lot of the wars, and we conquered these places rightfully, like it's ours.
1,400 years later, we come back. Now, I'm not saying that we can blame the people living here for what happened, but you gotta accept that that's some kind of divine justice, that their great-great-great-great-grandfathers kicked my great-great-great-grandfather out of here, and then we come back, and all of a sudden they're like, well, no, we don't want it, it's not fair.
I think that the Jews came here, they took this land, and this is our land now, and I don't think there should be here no Arabs. Like Arabs, they want, we gave them Gaza, they should go live there quietly. If they want, they should go back to Iraq, I don't know, to wherever they want.
I think that we need to...
Really cool thing to say.
I don't think there's any answer to it. Really? There's only one way, like, I would carpet bomb them.
You would carpet bomb them?
It's the only way you could deal with it. Like, or try to stop them a different way. It never worked.
That's the project. That's their goal.
I mean, it just goes on to talk about Hamas's charter. There is no solution for the Palestinian question except through jihad. Well, I mean, you know what? It seems like they're pretty much right about that at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. Can you really argue with them? I mean, like,
Hamas came into prominence in part because Israel supported it secretly as a way to undermine Fatah, which was their the main representative of Palestinian political authority at the time. Like, they fucking created this monster so that they could have something to invalidate the Palestinian cause, and now they're just pointing to the very process that they have controlled at every point to throw their fucking hands up in the air and say, I guess we just gotta keep doing it because our state has to exist. We have to have nightclub themed pizzerias. We have to.
I mean, like, Israel and the West has like made the choice that like, guess what? It was a vehicle for popular sovereignty for the question. So would you like Islamic Jihad and Hamas? I mean, we've made the fucking choice, and guess what? Once you've removed Fatah, like, it is representing the Palestinian people, you know, like Hamas, guess what? Like, their charter is what? Like, the self-defense of the Palestine, the appropriation of the apportioning of state services to like the captive population of Gaza. Again, like, states have a right to exist. Israel has a right to exist. Conveniently, Palestine isn't recognized as a state, so that you can do whatever you want to them. There are no rights there. Certainly not the right to resist violently their dispossession and oppression, or through military means or otherwise. Because guess what? Oh yeah, they don't have a military. They're terrorists.
I mean, the thing is that this only makes sense for an American audience. This is only a complicated issue. This is only anything that is not what it appears to be if you have selectively defined the humanity of the people involved. Whereas you see Israelis as like you, and you see Palestinians as the other. That's the only way any of this makes sense, because the right to self-defense, given what has gone on in Gaza, where it is a giant open-air fucking prison, where Israel controls the entire distribution of resources, controls water, controls electricity, that there would be no case where you identified with the people in that situation, where you would not say anything that they would try to do to resist that would be justified.
And of course, Barry goes on to talk about like all what Hamas stands for is the total eradication of the Jewish people,
really cool.
you know, akin to like Hitler's Third Reich or whatever, which is, you know, I mean,
that's really cool.
bullshit.
Yeah, they could pull that one off. Even if they wanted to. It's an absurd thing. It's not on the agenda.
It's absurd, but like, you know, the Palestinian people are just so hateful towards the Israeli people. They just want dead Jews. They just want to kill Israelis. It's like, well, I mean, again, like it's this imaginative leap. Like, if you or someone you identified with found themselves in a similar situation, what kind of feelings do you think that they would have towards the people who were doing it every single fucking day? Do you think that they would turn the other cheek, or that you would find some sort of nobility in continually being victimized and shit on and fucking like ground under the fucking heel of this, like I said, nuclear weapon armed mega like fucking state backed by the largest military in the world who's doing it to you, and then not only that, but when you get angry about it, they tell you that you're being the hateful, evil, violent one. She goes here, Israel's government has made mistakes that allowed these tensions to escalate. Okay, mistakes were made, sure. It could have managed last week's unrest in Jerusalem more tactfully, for starters.
Awesome. Okay.
I mean, this is the American Zionist attitude toward Israel, right? Is like, like any criticism is beyond the pale, but like in order to maintain some sort of veneer of credibility for an American audience that demands it, which, by the way, as you pointed out, Matt, the Israeli audience is passed this shit years ago. They got no need for anything even hinting at like a moral justification for what they do at all. They're openly calling for genocide and ethnic cleansing in the streets of Jerusalem and elsewhere. They're literally going house to house, attacking Israeli Arab citizens in Israeli towns and cities all over the country right now. Like a literal pogrom is happening right now. But you think anyone in the Israeli government is condemning these people or lamenting that they should go about asserting their right to dominate and dispossess the Palestinian people in a more tactful, perhaps a more polite, less aggressive manner? No, not at all. This is only for American audiences, and it's Barry's
because they don't want to get
job.
yelled at. They don't want their menchies to get filled up. They don't want to have an awkward conversation at a fucking party.
And that's what Barry is really writing about. She goes here. As you may have gathered, this complicated truth about a tiny country surrounded by enemies making hard decisions about how to protect its citizens doesn't sell. Hamas, its paymasters in Iran, and their allies in the Western press know this well. Okay, what allies do Hamas and Iran have in the Western media? What journalists? What news outlets are you fucking talking about?
Yeah, that's why she's got to talk about memes and about posts, because you can't really play the victim, and you can't really complain about unfair media treatment in the United States, where it is both parties and all media organizations are on the exact same page.
I mean, like, Joe Biden is president right now. He just said yesterday that I will never apologize for Israel's right to defend itself. Right to defend itself is another hilarious, completely unmeaning statement that's only exists to confound your moral sensibilities. And here's one really incredible thing from Barry here, though. She says, casualty reports are hard to verify because Hamas controls the media, even the international press inside the Gaza Strip. Absolute bullshit. That's absolutely not true about the international press in Gaza.
Lie.
But it appears that more than 50 Palestinians have been killed. This was just last night, by the way. Some of these people are entirely innocent non-combatants, including children. This is an unspeakable tragedy. It is also one of the unavoidable burdens of political power, of Zionism's dream turned into the reality of self-determination. I mean, oh my gosh, she admitted.
Yeah.
I mean, this is admirable.
Yeah,
honestly,
but the thing is, for her, this is obvious.
She doesn't think
this is a price worth
she doesn't
paying.
think that
But
this
why
is like
should
a big.
anybody else give a shit?
Yeah, exactly.
Why should anybody else say that is worth the cost of having this Jewish state exist?
Exactly.
When nobody else gets that, by the way.
Exactly.
Nobody else gets a state based on ethnicity.
And and here's the funny thing. Where I'm going with all this is when Barry is not, smearing, supporters of Bernie Sanders as anti-Semites, and most of her job is, promoting and defending Zionism for an American audience. Her other big area of intellectual combat, what she devotes most of her, labor and intellectual creative output towards doing, is, sounding the alarm about illiberal wokeness in American academia and education. And the ways in which people, create for themselves or adopt for themselves identity categorizations, which they then use as a shield to attack other people and demand power over the discourse or intellectual life in this country. She is does it give her a moment's pause that is exactly what she does with the other half of her creative output? Because the entire point here of what she's saying is it's just so hard to be a Zionist. I can't even look at Instagram without seeing memes attacking me. Like the people that she devotes her time combating on the illiberal left, right? It's the exact same thing is at work here. It's you adopt an identity for yourself, but what that really means is that no one can get mad at me, and crucially, if anyone disagrees with me or makes fun of me, that's violence and hatred, and needs to be that needs to be fought and confronted, and we need to talk about this.
What is her
whatever.
answer to these offensive memes that she sees?
I don't know. Probably like she did it in Colombia. They should fire the people who made them. I mean, this is what she's dedicated her life to. Is it's just for some reason everything else about ethnic or religious groups demanding a certain
I had to do it in that order.
a certain standard of treatment for them or a certain deference to the issues that they care about is illiberal madness that is akin to totalitarianism for her. But save for Israel when they're killing scores of people to maintain their ethno-state, which depends on the ethnic cleansing of an entire population of Palestinians, of Arabs, from the people who were originally living in that part of the world when the United States just decided that Israel was going to be a country in 1948. I mean, it doesn't give her a moment's pause about any of this shit. And that's what you're right, Matt. That's why ultimately the point of this entire article is just lamenting about how bad it is to be online. It's all she's complaining about is not that she has these noxious beliefs. It's that sometimes when on her social media feed, she is confronted with people who feel differently or are, for instance, feel mad about the fact that the explicit dream of Zionism requires, as she says openly herself, the killing of innocent children in the maintenance of an ethno-state. I mean, people tend to get pissed off about that.
And also just with that really gross framing about her doing in vitro or whatever at the beginning, like trying to have a baby, that the real tragedy here is that she is made to feel bad.
Exactly.
It's not that bad things are happening. It's not that people are being brutalized or whatever. It's like the real issue at the core of this is that I am made to confront the things that I feel and face those contradictions, and that makes me feel sad.
And that's all of her output. That's everything she's ever put. And it's honestly 90% of everybody's output on here, because they got rid of journalism and replaced it with people's opinion because it's a lot cheaper. And now everybody can only talk about their experience, which is being on the fucking internet and occasionally going to a brunch. That's all you can talk about. So everything becomes a question of manners and feelings and your personal sense of comfort, because there's nothing else to engage with.
And for Barry, it's not so much that people think she's an asshole. It's that a certain type of person thinks she's an asshole. And by certain type of person, I mean anyone who is her age or roughly peer group in America. Like, that's what she's upset about, because her entire career is basically just being patted on the head and given six-figure jobs by mummies who believe and think exactly as she does. But it hurts her because everyone she follows on Instagram is like Free Palestine, and she feels attacked by that. But I mean, it doesn't give her a moment's pause that, like, when she states openly that Zionism requires the displacement and ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian population of that part of the world. And, Barry, like, you can believe that. It's a free country, but people are going to get mad at you if you say that openly, because it's a horrible thing to fucking believe or support. Or that if you, like, Matt, like you said, if you think that the nation of Israel is so important that, like, that all of this shit that they do to have it is worth it, then yeah, I think you should have to defend that, and you should probably be made to feel uncomfortable in public.
She quit the Times voluntarily, right?
Yeah, because everyone was so mean to her.
She wanted to get fired, but they wouldn't fire her, so she left because people were mean.
So she quit the Times for a subscription. She like literally created a safe space for herself to write for only subscribers. And now the thing that she is writing about is that how things outside the safe space are too traumatizing for her.
Ding, 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 ding. She wants a safe space for Zionism in American culture. That's it.
Yeah.
And to the extent that, like, certainly not in our politics, because there is nothing, there is nobody with any power of any kind in this country who believes differently about Israel and Palestine.
Controversial content.
There's not a single person in power, or in the media, or whatever, or even in academia for that matter. I mean, most Palestinian or anti-Zionist academics, I assume, have just been purged at this point, largely at the behest of people like Barry.
Somebody just got a job kicked. Somebody was just forced out of a position in Canadian university because the donor said nope.
And which makes it all the more noxious that she's saying, like, it's so hard to have a brand these days and defend Israel. It's like, well, shit, it's hard to have a fucking job and be critical of it.
Like, I don't think
Barry.
I don't assume that, like, everybody.
So, I mean, I'm just going to read the last few paragraphs here. She says, for the past few years, leaders within the American Jewish community have been deeply worried about whether the Democratic Party, with the wind now in the sails of the Squad, would go the way of labor under Jeremy Corbyn. That question seems tragically parochial. Like, what are you talking about now? Look at any of Joe Biden or Jen Psaki's statements on Israel-Palestine. You could have fucking written them, Barry. What are you complaining about? Like, all these people have gotten exactly what they want. There is no changing. I mean, I'm not saying, like, there's no point in challenging it, but, like, as it currently exists, there is nothing about American power that is going to move one iota on letting Israel do whatever the fuck it wants to Palestinians. There's not even a gasp of air differently outside a few individual politicians. And by the way, AOC criticized Andrew Yang about this. She didn't criticize Joe Biden, who believes and says the exact same things that Andrew Yang did. Andrew Yang is running for mayor. Joe Biden is the fucking president and leader of your party. You think that would be like a little bit more important? But, and of course, she mentions that. The world has gone Corbyn. Look online. When Andrew Yang, the frontrunner of the New York mayoral race, tweeted on Monday, "I'm standing with the people of Israel," AOC rallied the online hordes. The anodyne statement was, she said, utterly shameful. By the way, I'm standing with the people of Israel in the context of them literally lynching people in the streets and like throwing people out of their homes and burning their businesses. Saying I stand with Israel is not anodyne. That is not an uncontroversial statement for a public figure to make. She says here, it turns out America didn't need a Corbyn. We just needed a Twitter and a few reckless demagogues in Congress. And now supporters of Israel, including many Jews, are so scared of getting bullied online that they've just decided to sit in silence, hoping the lies will dissipate on their own.
No.
How do you, okay,
it sounds
yeah.
like a problem that solves itself.
Yeah, no, exactly. Just shut the fuck up and you won't be bullied.
Yeah.
If you don't want to get people, have better opinions if you don't want people to
I
get
mean,
angry
hey,
at you.
you know what? If it makes you feel any better, just watch TV and see Israel do whatever it wants, because none of this fucking matters.
Exactly. They're going to get away with it. You want to feel bullied? Try living in East Jerusalem. Like I said, you go out to the store and you come home and there's some fat asshole sitting in your living room going, "Call the cops." What are you going to do? It's my house now. You think people in the West Bank feel bullied when they can't drive on certain roads or use water to grow fucking anything because it's now all controlled and owned by the Israeli occupation? I think that feels pretty otherizing. That feels pretty marginalizing. That feels like pretty much like you're a victim of bullying, I would say.
This is minor in this, but it is also just very galling that it has gotten to the point where she can just freely use Corbyn as just like a Schenectady for the most virulent, like anti-Semitic racism.
And once again, Corbyn's gone. They shit-canned him a year ago. He's done. Again, labor has completely purged for the most part any hint of anyone who is critical of the state of Israel. I feel like I've been saying this over and over again on the show. All of these people have got exactly what they want, and they're still not fucking happy. They got exactly what they want as it terms like power, policy, and what really matters, and the ability of the state actors themselves, the people who represent them, to absolutely dominate, exterminate, kill, brutalize people who you don't feel that way about. But that's not good enough. They want to be hailed as heroes and be called brave and moral and courageous for doing all this shit.
So that's why you got to go back to the first question that we were asking about Substack, is when she reads her Substack comments and everybody's like, yeah, right on, you're absolutely right, Israel has the right to do everything it does. Then she's in her own Twilight Zone.
Well, no, but then she goes on
then
Instagram
she's gotten
and TikTok.
everything she's wanted. Yeah. But she's built that space for herself and then has to go and finds it so dissatisfying to actually have everything reaffirmed that you have to go seeking out all the places in which you have where you get the friction. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And then she has to write her post about it.
What a shock that a ardent Zionist would curate for themselves let's say a space, a zone of control which they're in charge of, but then continually want to expand the borders of that space over other people who feel differently. So yeah, she just says in clothing, the truth needs people who are willing to stand up for it. It needs people willing to publicly resist moral perversion and nihilism. People willing to fight for a sane future. And that's why I'm writing this, and that's why we're trying to start a family. Start your family in Israel if you love it so much. Move there.
Honestly,
that wouldn't make her happy either. I mean, because let's be honest, a pretty rotten country and shitty place to live.
Just another quick rhetorical question. She began and ended that piece with saying that she saw the lies and mistruths that she needed to represent with facts, and then ended it with facts. Did any part of that article have a thing that she could claim was a non-truth or a lie or a fact or a misstatement that she refuted with a fact?
Probably. I mean, I don't know. I skipped a lot. I skipped over a lot of it. I mean, only in the sense of the algorithm that we're talking earlier, like the arguments and refutations and sort of the Hasbara line that you've heard a billion times before, that in their mind has the veneer of a logical argument or historical credibility. But I mean, we all know, again, these aren't arguments. They're not designed to be resolved through debate or otherwise. They're just designed to like I said, keep people just walking in circles who avoid the obvious truth about look, Israel does exist, but I'd be happy with them, whatever. You do whatever you want. I just don't think we should be funding them to the tune of $3 billion a year. If they want to exist, they should exist on their own, like every other fucking state. And as long as we are which is why, this is the other line. Oh, why are you complaining about Gaza, but not what China's doing to the Uyghurs or whatever? And it's just I'm not. My government that I'm a citizen of isn't giving China billions of dollars a year to fucking put Uyghurs in concentration camps in the first place. So don't fucking Israel is a special case if you're an American, because our government is the most important reason why they do everything. They're allowed to do every single thing they do.
As Joe Biden said back in the 80s, if Israel didn't exist, we would have to make it.
There's no apology to be made.
I'm just going to keep going.
None. It is the best $3 billion investment we make.
The exact order, 'cause I don't
Were there
wanna
not
fuck
an
it up.
Israel, the
I did
United
it
States
too
of
much time
America
ago
would have to
anyways.
invent an Israel to protect her interests
tried to risk,
in the
doing
region.
it in a different order.
Oh, right, he did say that. That's
Yeah.
incredible. He was like, I'm tired of apologizing. We got absolutely nothing to apologize for, man.
It's the greatest deal you can get. Protecting our interests in the region.
I know that's not the point of that clip, but if you guys watch that clip, it's just every time you see him from the '80s, my man is plugged up on the top.
Oh
of his
man, yeah,
dome.
he was totally bald. He had the shine going on.
He had the
Yes.
diffuse Lex
Yeah.
G hair loss, and then he just decided, nope, I'm gonna. To me, that's one of the most psychotic things you could do.
I'm so mad
is
at
you're
myself.
famous and you just decide to get hair plugs, and then what? People are just supposed to pretend
Like it didn't
Oh,
that
grew
you
back.
don't look completely different.
They did it with Elon.
Jonah brought up the Financial
sure, Elon
Times.
kinda
So for the second half of the show, I sourced an article, a very good article from the Financial Times this week that I think will make for a very interesting sort of wine entree pairing with our interview half of the show. This is headline here. Financiers find safe space for Milken Jamboree at the Beverly Hilton. Inflation is a concern at the first pandemic-era event, but so is cancel culture. So this is the Milken Jamboree, and I've been trying to get tickets to that. I need a miracle. I've been standing in the parking lot. Just get me tickets to the Milken Jamboree.
Is this a reference to Mike Milken?
Yes.
the king of junk bonds?
The creator of junk bonds.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And the funny thing about this, like, this is just openly the Milken Jamboree. That's just like, this is a conference for crime and criminals.
Yeah.
This is like when the like if every Batman, like the Rogues Gallery is like, welcome to Joker Fest. You know, speaking at 2:00 is Two-Face, and after that we'll be hearing from the Riddler. But yeah, so this is like a big fun event at the Beverly Hilton. So I'm just gonna read here from the Financial Times, which, you know, I swear to God, if the New York Times had covered this same event, you would not be you would not get some of the details that you get for the courtesy of FT. So it begins. For the first time in 2 years, the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Los Angeles played host this week to one of the most gilded events in high finance. More than 2,000 people gathered at the Milken Institute Global Conference, the elite get-together organized by the one-time junk bond king, Michael Milken. There were moments of tension during the panel discussions in spacious ballrooms, as well as quieter gatherings on the on-site bar and more exclusive parties high in the hills. Rising inflation and supply chain malfunctions were threatening a 40-year bull run in the bond market, the attendees worried. Nosebleed asset valuation left money managers with little to buy. It's gotten harder to steal stuff, lamented on stage Howard Marks, the Oak Tree Capital founder, who at Citigroup in the late 1970s had been one of the first buyers of Milken's revolutionary debt. So this is just like... just on stage.
Gentlemen,
Harder to steal. Yeah. It's just like being covered by the press, just open, spacious ballrooms are like, God, it's hard. It's getting harder and harder to be a criminal.
It's hard out there for a pimp.
But like, I mean, like when we talked to Jonah about how like financiers have their eye on the UAW, like this is what they're talking about. Like this is the eye of Sauron, is the spacious Beverly Hilton ballroom where they're just checking up on, just taking the temperature of our society and how ripe it is to be harvested for organs, resources, But it says here, but there was also much to celebrate. Since the pandemic interruption, hedge funds and private equity firms, many founded by Milken's underlings at the defunct Drexel Burnham Lambert, have prospered as asset prices soared to all-time highs and political gridlock snuffed out the chance of systemic change. Mixing in a safe space in all senses, the masters of the universe attacked the big issues of the day with gusto. The usual celebration of economic Darwinism was paired with highbrow content on public health, philanthropy, and diversity, plus a sprinkling of celebrity. Actor Uma Thurman hosted a talk on the benefits of psychedelics, while former heavyweight boxing champion Vladimir Klitschko was spotted milling about.
Oh, come on, Uma.
So they're just like, they're just like, 3:00, main ballroom. How to rape the world economy even harder.
4:30. Expanding consciousness with ayahuasca.
Getting more out of your employees with microdosing their water coolers.
The financiers disagreed about the trajectory for inflation and cryptocurrencies, but there was near unanimity that capitalism, financial achievement, and wealth were bedrock principles that were under threat. Two different prominent
Their values are under attack. Oh no.
Two different prominent fund managers who had left New York and California explained their flight to lower tax states was not purely financial, but also related to the rhetoric in Sacramento and Albany that made their professional success feel unappreciated.
Oh.
Yeah, it's that thing that we talk about with the conservatives all the time is like that it's not enough to win. You have to then feel good about the winning, you know? You can get every single thing you want, and if one person in the Albany State House says, hey, maybe these guys are bad for the society, you're like, fuck this bullshit. I'm moving to Alabama or wherever.
Princess and the pea shit. The more,
Yeah, it is.
The more of a coddled little Fauntleroy you are, the more anything that is not fully to your specifications just is just not acceptable. Because what do I have all this money for if it isn't to make a world that is totally revolves around me and reflects to me only that I'm great? Well, what's the point of the money?
Some of the Batman's rhetoric about quote evildoers has led me to leave Gotham City. And they said the formal program of panel discussions often felt like a sideshow to the wheeling and dealing. Money managers set up war rooms and suites and restaurants along the cluster of luxury hotels dotting the intersection of Wilshire and Santa Monica boulevards, trying to snag their slice of the trillions accumulated by pension and sovereign wealth funds. Attendees had to be both vaccinated and produce a negative COVID test result. Oh, well, thank God. Thank God they're taking their social conscience so seriously. Not a mask in sight. The irony was, it goes here, the conference passed out its own jet black KN95 masks to be worn at all times inside. Well, what the fuck? I mean, if everyone had to produce negative COVID test results and vaccination passports, why are they making everyone wear black gas masks during this fucking thing? It says here, dozens of hall monitors in hot pink vests milled about, unafraid to admonish any rogue member of the global elite whose mask slipped. That's metaphorically speaking. They're not admonishing anyone whose mask slips on stage, and they're like, slavery. I think it's a new innovation in the labor market. I think we should take advantage of.
No, they're going around to people being like, excuse me, sir, but the reptile scales are showing under your eyes. You might want to just pull up the skin suit a little bit.
That's the real reason they have the N95 mask.
Yeah.
The irony was plain. Michael Milken made his Wall Street legacy flouting the rules and eventually the law. At age 75, having received a pardon from last year from Donald Trump, Milken moderated several eclectic discussions, including ones on the global pandemic recovery and development in Africa, while he served up a few zingers. Before one session, Milken chatted warmly with Maxine Waters, the Democratic congresswoman who has long represented the predominantly black neighborhood of South Los Angeles. Reverence for Milken came from his former colleagues. Leon Black, the former Drexel merger banker turned private equity kingpin, showed up months after he resigned as head of Apollo Global Management following the exposure of his financial ties to pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Like, if the New York Times wrote this article, you would not hear the phrase pedophile Jeffrey Epstein or economic Darwinism.
These guys love talking about development in Africa, and it always sounds so insidious, you know?
Yeah, I got the Gates Foundation. That's the Gates Foundation's job. Milken, stay off
exactly.
it.
Yeah, hands off these foreskins. Those are Bill Gates' foreskins, okay?
Was Milken running this thing from jail beforehand, or were they just did they just keep naming it after him to just celebrate?
Yeah. This is Return of the Mac. Black and his wife Deborah attended a distressed debt discussion where their son Ben explained how his own investment fund was playing the SPAC craze. That's SPAC. What is you guys have any idea with the SPAC craze?
I'm taking notes here, Mark Cuban style. What does it not elaborate on what that is?
Let's see. Amid the rich and famous were a group of once disadvantaged youngsters who had been selected as Milken scholars. Little Lebowski urban achievers.
They have fucking keg tappers in the back of their heads. Just you can go over and just get a shot of adrenochrome and just walk back into the party.
It's like the heart plug in the Lynch
Yeah.
name. Amid the rich and famous were a group of once disadvantaged youngsters who had been selected as Milken scholars with their college tuition paid by the Milken family and a lifetime of mentorship. He does not want to have to do any of this, said Ahmed Reza, a son of Bangladeshi immigrants whose Ivy League schooling 2 decades ago was paid by Milken's foundation. He still wakes up at 4 a.m. and goes to work. I wake up at 4 a.m. too. Why? Because Michael does. Yeah. He's still institutionalized. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to fucking get out of those habits once you've been inside. Going on here, it says, worrying about the oppressed. Milken began organizing gatherings in the 1980s to evangelize his junk bonds in an edgy convention that became known as the Predators Ball.
An edging convention.
Back to Jeffrey Epstein here. Back then, corporate raiders were widely condemned as avaricious asset strippers, but Milken and his foot soldiers believed they were fighting corporate cronyism. Junk bond-fueled takeovers, in their view, would bring egalitarianism and unprecedented innovation. This week's event had its own panel discussion called Democratizing Finance, Leveling the Playing Field for the Next Generation, whose star participant was Cathie Wood, the founder of ARK Investment, which earned massive returns during the pandemic by betting on disruptive high-growth tech stocks. Wood praised the rise of retail traders, many of whom used the smartphone app Robinhood, recounting a story of an elderly woman who began trading equities for the first time after watching Wood on YouTube.
That Cathie Wood lady is quite a number. TrueAnon has done a few episodes on her, and there's a lot of background about her. She is wild. I would recommend looking up the TrueAnon episodes on Cathie Wood.
It says here, despite a roster of attendees, which was unsurprisingly predominantly middle-aged, white, and male, the event debated the plights of marginalized groups. The discussion typically defaults
awesome or merely cool.
How can we optimize the marginalization? Are there opportunities left on the table for marginalizing?
Well, it says the discussion typically defaulted to market-based solutions.
Oh, what? I can't believe it.
Such as the panel, Investing in Growing Wealth for Women of Color. Wealth taxes and reparations were not on the list. But it was not all saccharine. Michael Piawar, a resident at the Milken Institute and former Republican commissioner of the Securities and Exchange Commission, moderated a lively session entitled Promoting Greater Wealth Equality. Michael Tubbs, who had trialed a universal basic income in his former role as mayor of Stockton, California, wondered why big banks were entrusted with no-strings-attached bailouts, while welfare programs came laden with requirements. Critiques of cash transfer and UBI are rooted in the ideology that some people we can trust with money and some we can't, Tubbs said, going on to describe wealth inequality in America as obscene. The session, however interesting, was shunted off to a distant meeting room that was sparsely filled.
Nerd shit.
Aha. Here we get to the big. This is the marquee event at the Milken Jamboree. That was not the case for someone who turned out to be one of the conference's biggest draws. Barry Weiss, the provocateur and self-styled free speech martyr. I mean, giving away the game here at the Milken Jamboree seems to be the theme rather than ending oppression, because, self-styled free speech martyr Barry Weiss is the biggest draw at the Dracula conference. Of just the most powerful people and the richest fucks in the entire world, and they're just like, yes, Barry, please, more. Tell us more. We want to. Please tell us about your plight being censored. Her appeal to older financiers. I mean, that's also funny because we could just. Her appeal to old people, period. I mean, that's her appeal, period, point blank.
Yes.
I remember I saw any book tour, any book reading she gives is she's like Jay Leno. She's playing to she's one of the only people who plays to an audience categorically 40 years older than she is.
They all like to imagine that she's their smart young granddaughter who just can't catch a break in this harsh world.
We're the cutting edge rebels, we're edgy and cool because we're not afraid to tell you some real shit about how the junk bond market is fucking ripe for investing in. It says her appeal to older financiers was known, but it became crystal clear when her session entitled "Talking Back to Cancel Culture" drew a capacity crowd that left some stuck outside in a queue.
Weiss
They
spends
fucking love that shit. I got it. The cancel culture stuff is just so. My eyes just go fucking blank. And these people, like, I'm sure, like you guys, I find the whole discussion of it more just irritating than anything. Like, but these older people just like. It is the most interesting thing in the world to them.
These are the most uncancelable people on the planet.
Exactly, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Michael Milken got a pardon from Trump. You know what I'm saying?
Well, these are they're the most. Yeah, they're at the most Olympian remove, but they're also incredibly powerful people who are now living in a technological and media environment where they are having to see the opinions of their lessers. And that is very unnerving and destabilizing and anxiety producing for them. They hate that shit. And they're like, someone do something about this. Who can I send some Werther's originals to who will do something about this?
But
and there's a lot of people who are like me. I love Werther's. Hook me up.
But just in terms of our wine entree pairing with the first interview, like I think there's a reason the biggest draw at the Milken Jamboree is a conference on talking back to cancel culture. I mean, like, there's a reason these people like talking about it, because I think it's a way for them to basically further their financial fucking chokehold over the rest of us. Because, like, yeah, it is enervating, but like, I think most people who engage heavily in the cancel culture debate on one side or another just want you to keep fucking talking about it.
Yes,
even though you
it's
don't
in their
have
interest
to.
and the interest of people who pay them to make this what matters at this given moment in time.
Weiss spent several minutes criticizing her former employer, the New York Times, and decried what she called the philosophy of woke. At one point, Weiss...
Whoa!
Yeah, here's the money shot. At one point, Weiss compared her professional travails to the life of Galileo, the Italian scientist who was forced to renounce his views on heliocentrism to avoid being burnt at the stake. Calm down, Barry. I mean, the ego.
She tried to get the New York Times to fire her, and they wouldn't do it. So she had to quit.
I mean, just
it's the equivalent would be somebody is climbing up onto their own stake and lighting the bonfire themselves.
And it's also whatever professional consequences Galileo suffered for his theory of a heliocentric solar system, I'd say a little bit more, important and world history changing than Barry Weiss's discovery that BDS threatens indigenous Jewish bodies and spaces. I'd just say one is a little bit more worthwhile than the other, or it's just, a little bit more important. If I was going to, if you're going to compare yourself to someone, she could have compared herself to when Krusty the Clown lost his TV show.
Again, though. Krusty would have had to have quit the show himself under no pressure.
This is really good, though. Her interviewer, the conservative political pollster Frank Luntz, once again, Barry, cutting edge here. Like the bleeding edge of fucking dangerous cultural fucking rebels being interviewed by... being interviewed by a guy who still has spaghetti stains from the last time he had to watch a focus group through a fucking two-way mirror.
Yeah, I'm more impressed that Luntz would risk his professional reputation of as Mr. Polls by consorting with such a dangerous and against the grain thinker as Barry Weiss.
He says, her interviewer, Frank Luntz, implored Weiss to throw her hat in the ring for the open U.S. Senate seat in Weiss's home state of Pennsylvania. Okay, can I donate to this campaign now? Is there anything I can do to make this happen?
Someone needs to do worse than J.D. Vance in a primary, and I think she's got the power to do it.
An idea that was greeted with a burst of applause, marking the rare Milken conference talk where those in the audience were not fiddling with their phones. So there you go. That's the Milken Jamboree.
It is it's a conference where it seems like the biggest thing they're complaining about is that they have run out of copper wiring to strip out of the walls.
Yeah.
And so all they can think about is the idea that someone somewhere else maybe is considered wrong by somebody. And that's it.
That's all they got. And it really should make people who obsess about this shit on either side, who are not that well off, wonder how the hell is this a priority in your life? I mean, for these freaks, I understand. They got nothing else to care about.
Yeah. All right.
When I grow going to Bovine University.
Well, speaking of education and identity politics, you want to talk about Barry Weiss's Bovine University?
Yes.
I always hate talking about her because, as we've discussed, there's just nothing there, like absolute zero. But this is such a next step. This is so next level that I got to tip the cap. This is like in the comic book when all of the bad guys get together to open a university.
This is every time. Whenever I read of her like doing a new stunt like this, it's what I imagine the feeling of like overdosing on trazodone feels like.
So I don't know if you saw this, but Barry Weiss is launching what is going to be known as the University of Austin, with a murderer's row of people in Epstein's black book. Steven Pinker is there. Larry Summers is there.
All the stars.
Niall Ferguson is there.
Oh my God!
Like all your favorite. All the people who have been working diligently to destroy academic freedom in their in their private and professional lives are now joining a university dedicated to, of course, academic freedom. So I would just like to read here some of the frequently asked questions on the University of Austin website.
Is the first one why?
Well, okay. The basics. What is the University of Austin? The University of Austin is a liberal arts university committed to freedom of inquiry, freedom of conscience, and civil discourse. To maintain these principles, the university is fiercely independent, financially, intellectually, and politically.
I don't know, man. It seems like a bunch of boring neoliberals, like guys who say that there can't be any. You can't tax rich people because you'll get rid of incentive, and also you do have to tax poor people because someone's got to give money to Israel.
Someone's got to have skin in the game. They got to have skin in the game.
Okay, you say that, but they have former presidents of both Harvard and U Chicago.
That's skin in the game, baby.
Yeah.
Why is your acronym
so I'm gonna have to learn how
UATX?
to turn the,
U is for university.
bottle.
ATX is a popular configuration for Austin, Texas.
Ooh.
Yeah, 3.
U equals university. Rail equals rail. What do you stand for?
She is so fucking vacant. Just an empty
Ooh, fucking. What do you stand for? In a word, truth. In a few more words, the fearless pursuit of truth. But perhaps you'd like a slightly longer answer.
Not really. That's not.
UATX is committed to freedom of inquiry as the precondition for the pursuit of truth. This is just restate. This is like padding out an essay.
Yeah.
This is teaching kids how to fucking stretch a word count.
Webster's defines truth.
Others have abandoned this core mission of the university. It is the very foundation of our school and the reason we believe the most curious, innovative scholars and students will want to join us. Do you have a physical location? Yes. Our headquarters are located in Central Austin, 2112 Rio Grande Street, Austin, Texas. We are in the process of securing land for in the Austin area for a campus. Does the university have any political or religious affiliations? No. The university will be fiercely independent on all matters.
Do they take Bitcoin? For tuition. That's all I want to know.
I will be emailing their business coordinator for my new comedy tour, my Nuke Tel Aviv tour.
He goes, why Austin? If it's good enough for Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, it's good enough for us.
So cool.
Awesome.
Hell yeah. Epic.
How much
but
is this ever good? So she hasn't bought the land. No one's bought the land yet.
Matt Brunig looked this up. He Google mapped their headquarters, and it is just a house in Austin.
No, yeah, this is not going anywhere. This is nothing. Like, this is why Tariq Nasheed is the king, because it's like he was like, I'm gonna make the museum, and he did. He bought the land. He did all the shit. He's the only Twitter guy who like actually does what he says he's gonna do. Everyone else is like this. They like found the cheapest house on Zillow and was like, oh yeah, this is a university. This is bullshit, man.
Yeah.
This is bullshit.
No, he says, why Austin? He goes, yeah, good enough for Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, but seriously, Texas is experiencing a historic boom in talent and capital. Mm-hmm. Austin, in particular, is a hub for builders, mavericks, and creators, the kind of people our university aims to attract and from whom we want to receive guidance. Just don't get pregnant. Nearly every university says it stands for freedom of inquiry.
What's different about your university? We mean it.
Well, never mind.
We are alarmed by the illiberalism and censoriousness prevalent in America's most prestigious universities and what it augurs for the country. But we know that there are enough of us who still believe in the core purpose of higher education, the pursuit of truth. That's why we are building UATX. At each stage of the construction of our university, I mean, not actually being constructed physically, from hiring staff to building the curriculum to admitting each student and faculty, we shall ask ourselves, are we serving the pursuit of knowledge? If the answer is no, then it will not have a place at our university. Next thing, accreditation. Are you accredited? UATX is seeking accreditation as a private post-secondary educational institution from the Texas Higher Education Board and initial accreditation through the Higher Learning Commission, an accreditor recognized by the United States Department of Education and the Council for Higher Education Accreditation is an assigned regional accrediting organization. Doesn't it take some universities a decade to receive accreditation? Our conversations with our accredited partners lead us to believe that we'll have a much shorter time frame than that. This is like Theranos for education. They're like, it will work eventually. We have been assured that we will be accredited in half the time that it takes a traditional non-knowledge-based university to achieve.
Because of their pursuit of truth. That's going to make things go much faster. Because they mean it.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, when Joe Rogan is declared dean of partying down...
Everything sucks so much dick. Like, William F. Buckley would not have been like, yo, watch this space. Like, what the fuck is this? This is nothing. You're an asshole. This is
why
like,
are you
this is like when a guy who had one big song 2 years ago is like, yo, I'm selling NFTs. Fuck off.
Why are you seeking accreditation? While we believe that the accreditation process is one that needs reform, at this point it is necessary we seek accreditation for our degrees, for our graduates to pursue postgraduate degrees at other universities, professional schools, law schools, and medical schools. Do you offer degrees? We do not confer degrees at the moment.
I know why they're getting accreditation. So they're always going to forget to do it. They're going to forget to do all this shit. And that will justify this never being a real thing. Because it's always going to be like, oh, we were going to get accredited, but then like, we were too, like, we told too many truths. Oh, like, it's not that I forgot to turn in the form or anything. And it keeps, that's like a rolling excuse for why this doesn't exist. Really? This is like, no, you just have to read all of Barry's, like, bullshit stunts through the lens of, like, oh, this is like if Janice Soprano hated Muslims.
So here you go. They do not offer degrees.
Okay, so that means they can't do the thing that universities are actually for, which is get you a job.
So
suck my fucking dick about truth.
So what do you? So what do you offer? I think this would be like the most frequently asked question.
What is it you do?
It all begins this coming summer. We will offer a summer program for college students called Forbidden Courses that invites top students from other universities to join us for a spirited discussion about the most provocative questions that often lead to censorship or self-censorship in many universities. So are we getting credit for any of these forbidden courses?
No, but you're accessing delicious forbidden knowledge.
Yeah, you're accessing delicious forbidden knowledge. In Niall Ferguson's forbidden course, King Leopold did nothing wrong. In the fall of 2022, we will begin offering several MA programs, starting with entrepreneurship and leadership. I'm majoring in leadership in college.
You made fucking upscale Trump University, you dumb piece of shit.
This is gentrified Trump University.
Like Trump University, at least, like they had a deal. Like, we're going to teach you how to like flip houses or something. This is literally, I have a leadership degree.
At least at Trump University, you could get your photo taken with like a cardboard standout of Donald Trump.
Yeah, that is something. No,
yeah, I got to meet Steven Pinker. Awesome.
It says college students, but what this is going to be is it's going to be a bunch of fucking like reactionary Rodney Dangerfields back to school.
Yeah, no, they're all going to be 70-year-olds
geriatrics who just like are so they had like they didn't get laid in college and they've been spending their entire lives like fuming about all the libs on campus, and now they get to go and relive their glory days.
Yeah, this is the best.
They should honestly make it like Westworld and have like sexy co-ed robots who like love their edgy like recycled Andrew Dice Clay bits that they do at the lunch table.
They're gonna expect they're marketing this like, oh, this is for like Zoomers who don't buy the the media's
I was working in the field recently and I
divisiveness.
found a strange
But
chest
in
on the
reality,
ground.
about
I think
Israel,
it's treasure.
but in reality, yeah, it is gonna be someone's like
doesn't have a
dad who like rediscovered his own Judaism when he was 57, but like does it like loves Barry Weiss but doesn't know she's a lesbian. It's just like always just like trying to get into her like twice a year she actually shows up there to be like, you're a firecracker. Have you ever been with an older guy?
Oh, what's this? I'm seeing that they will be offering a special course in the mental verse being taught by Sam Kinnison's character in Back to School. You will be able to be taught history by the ghost of Sam Kinison living in the mental verse.
Finally. I gotta say though, forbidden knowledge, I'm intrigued.
What is your MA in entrepreneurship and leadership? Our MA in entrepreneurship and leadership asks the big questions. Immerse students in world-class experiences and train students in the skills necessary for public and private leadership. I'd like to know a little bit. I'd like to have some details here. World-class experiences.
World-class experiences.
And training students in the skills necessary for public and private leadership, such as... Students will study fundamental texts in small seminars, network with the great private and social entrepreneurs, and acquire a tailored set of competencies and skills. The program will culminate in a practicum where students will engage in real-world projects and work closely with entrepreneurs.
Oh my god!
This just sounds like they're all going to end up like going to a crypto island in Indonesia and having their organs removed.
Well, they will be going to an island. It's not Indonesia.
Yeah,
this is like just do Andrew Tate's War Room.
Yeah.
Like, damn, that's such a better deal than this
absolutely.
shit.
Like, if you're paying to go to Austin and not Romania,
Wait a second.
if you're finding out about how to do fucking entrepreneurship and not drop ship, you're a fucking chump.
Cobra Tate has a Bentley. None of these people drive anything cool.
You know what? This is already way better than I expected. Shut the fuck up.
I gotta say,
true. Now Ferguson does have a leader that he's born about. He's carried around by students on a chair.
I mean, I was skeptical of this when he first started reading about it. When I heard about the world-class experiences, I gotta say I'm intrigued. Because those are my favorite kind of experiences that generally
I'll be afraid for
are the ones that are world-class.
I like a middling one.
But you know what? Like, I just reading this frequently asked questions here. Like, I mean, the most padded out essay, written by like a ninth grader.
Yeah,
like just being like,
we're gonna synergize opportunities.
This is a ninth grader trying to like the night before it's due write an essay on the Great Gatsby or something like that. But like in all the grim and brutal truths and forbidden knowledge that they're fucking offering, they're not spelling out explicitly what this forbidden explicit.
You gotta go. See, this is salesmanship.
Yeah.
If you want the forbidden knowledge, you have to pay to go to the Forbidden University. Or I guess you could just read all these guys' Substacks. I'm assuming, like, are they holding out? They should really make that clear. They should be like, look, it's not all the boring bullshit that you already know we believe that we say publicly. We have stuff that we're only putting out there in the context of the forbidden courses.
Yeah, you can't record it. You can't talk about it.
Yes.
It's like Fight Club,
Yeah.
you know? If you want to know what Niall Ferguson really believes, ooh, brother.
And the funny
I
thing-
got some world-class experience for you.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, even if that's true, like, oh, there's stuff that we don't say publicly. I could take a guess.
Yeah.
I could figure it out.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
It's like the forbidden knowledge you get is either like colonialism was a net good, or like, did you know that Israel has the most per capita startups in the world?
Yeah. Oh man, you show up and it's just that old dude from CPAC with his fucking Thanos coin.
All right, I am going to their Airbnb then. I have unfinished business with that man.
Dry Bones will be teaching an art class.
Dude,
So what you do is you take Ziggy and you just make him sadder and more squashed. That's the first step.
Yeah.
I would love to talk to Dry Bones about like his comic strips every year that were like the anniversary of Jonathan Pollard's sentencing, where it's just like the central dumpy character being like, please, Obama, free Jonathan Pollard from this injustice.
There we go. Barry Weiss's Bovine University. Moo.
World-class experiences, folks. Just like you can get at a cruise ship and a casino. I enjoy that part of it because it really does underline how now all these institutions are just, it's all the same deal. It's getting bored rich people to spend money standing around in a conference room somewhere. If you can get them to do that with either forbidden truths or the loosest slots in town or a dynamite seafood buffet, then you're set.
By the way, one of the frequently asked questions is, sounds great. How can I support you? Every dollar counts. You can support us financially by going to our Support Us page and clicking the Support Us and Join the Movement button. Then it says,
Christ.
I'm not rich, but I want to help. What can I do? We are grateful for a gift of any size.
Jesus Christ.
Give until it hurts. Give it to Barry until it hurts.
You are an evil fucking woman. At least like 10 guys on fixed incomes gave to your fucking Airbnb with slideshows, you fucking evil piece of shit. You are rotten.
I just love the idea of the I don't know, I'm gonna guess like maybe 5 undergrads like under the age of 60 that enroll in Bovine University. Like their first day, they're like, oh boy. Oh, they're like, welcome to the University of Austin, Texas, the home of Elon Musk and Joe Rogan. Hands shoot up in the back. Will we get to meet Elon Musk and Joe Rogan? No, you won't.
Of course not.
You're Steven Pinker via a Zoom call.
This is anti-woke Camp Crust, dude. This is so rotten. I hate her. She's so awful. Fuck me. I'm just so sad thinking about like the people that donated. Like just someone's like loser dad just being like, I'll help you, Barry. And he sends like $65. And he's like, I can just eat rice for the rest of the month. That's so depressing. For this thing that's like never going to exist. It's never going to be like an actual like place. I hate this. She's rotten. It's like at least Rod like obviously feels bad about himself. At least like Rod and Ross are like, at the end of the day when they close their eyes at night, they're like, oh, I'm like God's little worm. I'm in pain. But she writes this and like gets all these like orny boomers to like send them their social security checks, and she's like, I'm a good person. Damn, you're awful.
I like our friend Stefan Heck pointed this out, but like when she announced it on Twitter, she was just like, we got tired of complaining about the campus environment today, and it's like, no, you're not.
You did not.
You were doing that the rest of your life.
University to complain more.
Yeah, that's what the forbidden knowledge is. You get in there, and it's just them going like, can you believe what they're doing? Can you believe what they're up to? Yes, I can. It's all you talk about.
And by the way, I'm also indigenous to the Middle East.
yeah. All identity politics is bullshit, except for one very specific kind.
If this does end up being, I mean, it's obviously not going to be a real college with a fucking campus.
No.
And when it doesn't happen, they can blame the woke people for undermining it, or like this, they didn't want you to know, or whatever. But if anything comes out of this, it will be probably some PragerU YouTube bullshit.
Yes.
Like a master class on like the bell curve.
At least PragerU, you can watch those videos for free.
Yeah.
And
you'll have to pay for sure.
Yeah,
like masterclass. You got to subscribe. And then Niall Ferguson, it'll be like the history of the British Empire with Niall Ferguson, where he just talks about how it was epic. And Barry Weiss just like going through all of the campus like clubs and the Ivy League and just reading them out while steam shoots out of her ears. It'd be really great stuff. Forbidden knowledge.
Robert Zimmer, former head of U Chicago, will teach you how to get pussy. It's a special joke for people familiar with U Chicago lore.
And by the way, Chapo will be offering an MA in podcasting. Our soon to be accredited online university.
Yes, podcasting, pod leadership, leadership podding,
vaping,
vaping.
Yeah, I will sign to Barry Weiss's Craigslist Sublet University for 50 bands.
Why are we headquartering in Brooklyn, New York? Well, if it's good enough for Eric Adams, it's good enough for us. I want to ask you now about really like for me, and I think a lot of our listeners, a man who became kind of the face of this ongoing genocide, and that is, I want to ask you about the life and career of Rafat Al-Arir. He was a guy who I was introduced to through your live streams when, like, as October 7th happened, and then as like subsequent events happened, I was through your live streams of him in Gaza that I began to follow him and then follow him on Twitter. And it was someone who, like, I don't have any personal connection to Israel or Palestine, but he was like rendered a human face in real time, someone experiencing this. And when I learned of his death, killed by Israeli forces, I felt like, grief-stricken in a strange way, despite the fact that I only knew him through his posts. So I was just hoping you could share a little about how you came to know and work with him, and just like what he was like as a person, and how his work has become like really a global call, like a rallying cry for the Palestinian people.
I think what often happens after someone dies, and in this case was murdered, Rifat al-Ar'ir was murdered on December 6, 2023, in a targeted missile attack on his sister's home in Gaza, killing him and several members of his family, though not his wife and children. They were in a separate location. And this was after a campaign of incitement by, among others, Barry Weiss, over a post he had made, one of his typical funny, ironic posts. You would have enjoyed very much having him on this show. I wish you could have done.
Yeah.
He's an incredibly funny person. And he made a joke about the fake atrocity story of a Jewish baby being cooked in an oven by Hamas on October 7th. And so Barry Weiss stirred up all this fake outrage. Look how he's talking gleefully about cooking a Jewish baby. He was making a joke about an atrocity story that never happened. And he was murdered in part for that, I'm sure. I want to say, and I take responsibility for saying it, that I believe that Barry Weiss, not alone, but Barry Weiss has some of Rifat al-Arir's blood on her hands. But he was a professor of English literature at the Islamic University of Gaza, which has now been completely destroyed, like all the other universities in Gaza, by the Israeli army. He was a writer, he was a poet, he was a mentor to hundreds, if not thousands, of young people in Gaza who he really believed had the power to tell their stories and tell the stories of the Palestinian people to the world. And so he almost single-handedly brought the idea of English, learning English as a tool for Palestinians to communicate with the world, to Gaza in a way that was incredibly effective. So I'll give you an example. Probably, if you go to our publication, The Electronic Intifada, on any day, you will see on the front page stories written by young writers in Gaza. Most of them were Rifat students. And on social media, it's the same. Most of those you see tweeting in English from Gaza were very likely Rifat students. He had an incredible impact. And throughout this war, from when it started, we were in close touch. We were on WhatsApp all day, every day, except when there were cutoffs. And he kept me sane. I mean, it's funny to say that, because he was relating being in the most horrifying circumstances. His home was bombed. And they narrowly escaped death when they evacuated their home for the first time. Several of his neighbors were killed in that attack. That was in mid-October. And then they escaped to another location in Gaza City, and then another one, and then another one, till finally the Israelis caught him and killed him. But throughout that, he kept his humor. He kept his strength. You saw his posts, how even when he knew the Israelis would likely kill him, he never backed down. He never backed down. He decided that it was more important for him to tell the tale and to speak out than to preserve his own life. He didn't want to die. He wasn't reckless. I know he was as careful as he could be. But that's how committed he was to this mission. And in 2014, he came to the United States as part of a tour, to do a tour with a book that he edited. I have it on my desk here. It's called Gaza Writes Back, Short Stories from Young Writers in Gaza, Palestine. And it was published in English by Just World Books. And he came to the United States with two other writers, Yusuf al-Jamal and one of the other writers in the book. And I had the opportunity to do a number of events with them in different cities in the United States and spend time with Rifat. And he was just hilarious. He was a riot. I mean, he just had fun with everything, and he had a wicked sense of humor. And I was very lucky to become friends with him. And
going on a long journey
what you
soon,
learn after someone dies often, you find out so much more about them. And so many people wrote and spoke about the impact he had on them. And I'd say he was one of these rare people. I've known one other person like this, but he was one of these rare people that when you were with him or when he was speaking to you, you felt like you were the only person in the world. And he had the ability to be present for people like that, for hundreds of people, if not thousands, including during this genocide. He was an incredible person, and we miss him every day.
A little late to this one. This is what everyone's been asking for. I am referring, of course, to the New Inquiry article about Bovine Barry's University of Austin. And like, I feel a little guilty with this reading series because it really has done all of the work for me. Like, unlike most reading series, this is an article that I think is actually really well written and hilarious. So like, I don't know how much more I'm going to have to add to this hilarious account of the dangerous courses being offered at Bovine University, but I think it's worth diving into. So gentlemen, this is An American Education, Notes from UATX by Noah Rawlings for the New Inquiry. It begins like this. Many of the founders had participated in the same conservative think tanks, the Hoover Institution, the Manhattan Institute, the American Enterprise Institute. Many had contributed to the Free Press, the digital paper founded by Barry Weiss in 2021, the same year as University of Austin was announced. Many were friends or fans of Jordan Peterson. One University of Austin founder was even double dipping, delivering lectures at both University of Austin and Peterson's forthcoming Peterson Academy. One had been fired from Princeton University after sleeping with a student and discouraging her from seeking mental health care, per an official university statement. One had been accused of assaulting his girlfriend. The charges were dropped. Another had a talk at MIT canceled after comparing affirmative action to, quote, the atrocities of the 20th century. And so, beneath their optimism, they churned bitterness and indignation at their mistreatment by the thought police, sour feelings they sweetened with their commitments to a free and open inquiry. To build a university, you need money, but the founders were so eager, they were so ambitious and impatient, they wanted students in classes now. So in the summers of 2022 and 23, University of Austin established week-long programs where students at other institutions could attend seminars and lectures by world-class scholars and knowledge creators, a sort of anti-woke summer camp. Title, Forbidden Courses. The University of Austin is not in Austin, not yet. It's 200 miles away in northeast Dallas on an office complex owned by Mr. Harlan Crow. So right off the bat here, University of Austin, Texas is not actually in Austin. It's in Dallas.
The building is the Reichstag. You brought it over.
Felix, I noticed you noticed this guy. This is one of my favorite encounters in this article. So it says here, Peter sat next to me on the bus. He was fired up. He was delivering opening remarks later that night. Plus, we'd begun talking about a subject that interested him, exercise. It's indispensable for an intellectual, he told me. You should be exercising. Do you? I'd recently started going to the gym, I said. He looked doubtful. You got to get into jiu-jitsu, man. I'm telling you. Peter did jiu-jitsu. It changed his life. He'd spun around in his seat, scanned the rest of the bus, and then whipped back to his laser eyes on me. I could murder everyone on this bus, and nobody could stop me. It's a superpower.
Oh.
I thought this over.
Okay.
So yeah, Felix, as someone who studied jiu-jitsu, could you please tell us about the superpowers it gives you to murder anyone on a bus?
Guys like this, and by like this, I mean people who have done jiu-jitsu for 2 months and have, in that time, learned like one shitty cross choke and could do a takedown on someone if they're being allowed to. They love doing this where they're like, guess what? I've just learned the secret to fighting. I know how to fight in the ground. No one else knows how to. Only I do. I'm one of the 0.1% of the world that knows this. The ground is an ocean. I'm a shark. And like, it's like, okay, maybe in 1991, that might be something. when no one knew what this was. But even then, like, what do you think? Do you think that someone is just gonna let you, Peter Boghossian, hug them and drag them to the floor extremely slowly while you like, get out of breath? No, they're gonna hit you.
Was that the guy who did the fake journal article where they submitted a bunch of nonsense to a journal?
Oh, I don't know if that's the
I
same.
think it was that guy, Peter.
His name is Peter Canellos.
Oh, it's a different guy.
Yeah, it's a different guy.
He's probably also there.
He does not. I mean, if you do go Google image search for Peter Canellos, he does not look like the type of guy who could murder anyone on a bus, despite his martial arts training.
It's just like, okay, assuming he does get one person to the ground and takes their back and is holding like a blood choke, like a rear naked choke for a long enough time to kill someone, is everyone on the bus just like patiently waiting in line for Peter to beat the other ones up?
Yeah, they're going to beat you to death. You can't fight off all those guys.
Yeah.
Like 9/11 would have worked like that if that's how it worked. They wouldn't have had to bar shut the cockpit or any of that shit. They would have just learned jujitsu for 2 weeks, killed everyone on the plane, and then flew it into the buildings.
Yeah, it's just such bad advice. Like the idea that like jujitsu is like it's like a real fight at all. Like it's very useful for fighting, but I'm sorry, in a real fight, you can't just like get on your back and do a helicopter sweep to someone. They're gonna kick you in the fucking head.
I think it's important that the guy said that like jujitsu is very important for intellectuals, because I think that's kind of how they. It's not good enough to just like present your arguments and be an intellectual. Like the true test of debate is, can you like put someone to sleep in a hold or something? Like, can you break someone's arm easily? As you're talking about how affirmative action is one of the great atrocities of the 20th century.
Well, when people say that, what they mean is like this annoying phrase that people would use for jujitsu. It's like a human chess match, because it's so intricate, and you have to think so many moves ahead, and it's so involved. And like,
don't they actually do that though? Aren't there real human chess matches where they're on a chessboard?
Yeah, it happens.
But like that's more like
that's one of the few
chess.
varsity athletics offered by the University of Austin is human chess.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
But like jujitsu being that cerebral, it's true on like a high enough level. Like if you're so good at it that you're not just acting on pure adrenaline and then running out of gas while you do it. Yeah, sure. But that's not what these guys are. They have like 30 seconds of go in them. And they're not like, I'm sorry, like I don't really think you can really say that you're good at jiu-jitsu until you've done it for like a decade.
You have to have actually killed a bus full of people.
Yeah.
I need proof that you did that. I want death certificates.
But I feel like, what is it about jujitsu that like leads to this kind of like? I remember like I swear to God, like another guy I knew who like started doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, like said after studying it for some time, like he advertised it in the same way this guy did to me by saying, "It gives me comfort to know that any room I can walk into, I can physically dominate any man inside of it." And I'm just thinking like, is that the way you think? Is that the way you think when you enter a room? You're just like the Terminator, like sizing up who here I could best in physical combat.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
Which man in here is a sub that I could dom?
Yeah. I think very broadly, right, that not all men, but a lot of men, at least when they're growing up, like in their adolescence, do have like this thing lurking in their